Friday night. CrossFire. New York, that's right, guys. Here we are, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We try to get as close as we can to 7 o'clock, guys. Bear with me. You know, it's just how I am. Nonetheless, I want to say what an outstanding show. Very excited to have this amazing. I see the chat. I see JC 2013. Silent Merc, thank you so much for joining the channel again. But I say he's got everything sorted out. It means the world to me. Really does mean a lot when you guys do subscribe to the channel. It helps so much. I can't even put words to it. And we'll get into a little bit of how those memberships help this channel as we talk about the games that are going to be coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's going to be unbelievable. And then more even after we get past that date. Nonetheless, I want to say thanks to everybody here. Shout out to all the chat. Please, guys, hit the like button. Please, guys, hit the subscribe button. I want to say shout out to Beyond RPG Gaming. He subscribed. Appreciate that. Great to have him here. Imperial Shroom also subscribed before we went live. Killer Panel says JC23. You have no idea, Jay. You have no idea. Truth Serum's here. It's an unbelievable panel. That being said, guys, take a look at that description. Take a look at that. I almost submitted that to the New York Times. It is absolutely gorgeous. Will you take a look at that? Look at that editorial. Nonetheless, right above that is the join button. And that's how you guys can help be a part of this channel. And I talk to these guys every day. We game every once and again. Shout out to Julian Johnson, who played a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre the other day. Outstanding. Great to have everybody here. Let me thank each one of these people one by one. The great Sir X Man, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, TrueWiddy, Alphonso Carter, BRAP, Damion, the great Jimmy Harrison, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, who's going to be joining us later on, Hamsolo05, shout out to Ham, Rob Jones, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, who you guys know is already here, Passive Prophet, Lord Metroid, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archangel, Biggity 08, Sonyverse, Slow-Mo Backslap. Shout out to Slow-Mo and Gaming Forte. They had a great TPS last night. Outstanding show. Go over and check that out after this show. Our major Mooch Maniacs, Capone 5150, BMO Careful, love it. Leah, 52-year-old gamer, X Abbott, Truth Serum, RPG 88, Julian Johnson, your boy Roy, Scolari's Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming, Rico, Gaming with Persona, and Jay Bowery, both doing What's Up PlayStation tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's how I start my Saturdays. It's how I recommend you guys start yours as well. Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, Brian B, a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniacs. He's back. Silent Merc, General Thadape, Raji, Domino Zero, the Wise Old Gamer, and our honorable mentions, Shadow Assassin, Supreme Samurai, 4-Star General, Dexflex 27. You're out there without food, water, toilet. Please come home. And our forever Mooch Maniacs, the great Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. That being said, guys, I want to say shout out to the great Domino Zero. The super chat's working. It's an absolute miracle. He says it's working. Let's have a great show. Domino, thank you so much. And by the way, I'm a big fan of yours, Domino, but let's hope the Giants have a better year than the Eagles this year. Let's not talk sports yet. We're not going to go sports, but nonetheless. That being said, let me get to this amazing panel. He said he might not be able to make it tonight, but because of the weather outside, baseball was canceled. The great Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, BRAP. BRAP, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, Mooch, I'm doing well. The Lord intervened on my behalf.
I see that.
To allow me to make it to this fantastic show on Friday nights. A great panel, by the way.
I'm very excited about this panel, and for multiple reasons. I'll get to it in a second. But BRAP, great to have you here. And I have one or two of our guys that are on the panel just for 2 hours. So I'm moving a bit faster tonight, because I have to, and I want to talk topics. And you know how we do. I gave you guys 12 topics. We'll be lucky if we get to 3 of them. That being said, a night like tonight, with the topics we have on the agenda, I couldn't do it without the voice of reason. You guys know who the voice of reason is. The great Eric Jackson is back on the show. Speaking of the Lord getting in the way of things, okay, we were supposed to have you on the show 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, last week, but you're here now. Thank God. Eric, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been too long. Yeah, I'm glad we were able to finally able to get it coordinated. It's always something, man.
There's always something.
Something comes up, man.
Always something, but it's great to have you here.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great show. Absolutely. The great Button Basher Gaming. Button Basher, where the heck? We miss all your shows. Podcasting you on the show. He says, I'm here. I can't wait for you guys to play our game in a few weeks. Been playing the flight test, and man, you are all in for a treat. So shout out to Button Basher. He is referring to Forza Motorsport, by the way. So shout out to Button Basher. Great to have somebody on the inside. See, when you're an Italian guy like me, you always gotta have a guy. He's Italian too. You You got to have a guy. I got a guy on the inside, okay? It's the way it is. But Button Basher, great to have you here. This is a treat for me, honestly. I've been talking to him on Twitter, X now, if you will, for quite some time. He's been, in my eyes, more vocal than ever before. And I said, I got to get this guy on the show. I got to get this guy on the show. He's really opinionated, and he doesn't back down from conversation. He's perfect for CrossFire. The great K-Med is with us tonight. Kay, listen, I know you're on a different time zone, so you had to leave work for CrossFire. I want to say I'm honored for that, first of all. But I'm very excited to hear your take tonight, buddy. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good, man. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast. Shit, man. I had Eric on, a while back. So I was like,
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
been
man,
a
this
long
is a
time.
good. Yeah, it's been a long time. But I'm, back on playing some Starfield. Want to talk, and I thought it was a great time. Jump on.
Absolutely, Kay. Well, tonight, like I said, it's CrossFire, so you chime in whenever you want to chime in. And listen, this next guest that we got on the show, let me tell you something. Boy, it cost me a bit. I had to get a helicopter. I picked him up. I brought him over here. We had to have the water chilled to strictly 37 degrees. I don't know why 37. I don't know why, but that's what he said. He's already done 2 or 3 shows today. I watched them. I was in his chat. I was doing work while enjoying his show. And he doesn't end. He's doing this show, and then I'll even promote it. He's doing his game with Madame at 9 o'clock tonight on his channel for his members, that is. So make sure you guys go over and check him out later on afterwards as well. The great Lono's back on CrossFire. Lono, I don't know how you do it. I try to bring my energy to this show, but you bring it from about 10 a.m. till now. So welcome back to CrossFire, buddy. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me, Mooch. And the water is right. It's just right. I was hoping for some IPAs, so maybe I'll have to have those later. But really glad to be here, and always like chopping it up with you and BRAP and these other fine gentlemen. So, let's get into it.
All right. Well, Lono, I like to put the guest on the hot seat first. So let me start with you. And this was a tweet, and shame on me. I saw it, I quoted it, and then I didn't see who actually wrote it. I should have. But anyways, I want to read this tweet to you because I was watching your show. I've been watching your progression through Starfield as you were making predictions and how you felt about it, how your initial playthrough was, and how you got to today. But this one really hit it home. I'll start with this tweet, and then I'll ask the question. The tweet was, I'm enjoying Starfield, but this is truly a game that does a lot of stuff okay, but nothing exceptionally well. There's nothing wrong with that as long as your expectations aren't a genre-defining experience, because it is absolutely not that. In 2011, sure. In 2023, not even close. So I saw that tweet from someone earlier today, and I said, you know what, it was well crafted. I said, this gentleman literally put a little time into that. He's playing the game. So my question for you, Lono, is, and you can kind of dabble into what you did in your pre-show earlier today, is Starfield's launch, I have about 11 hours into it. I believe you're right around there or maybe more. And did Starfield deliver for you, before we get into the media and the ratings, did Starfield deliver for you what Xbox has been promising?
I basically broke it into 2 categories today. For a lot of people, they're happy to have Fallout in space, right? It's another Bethesda game, and that's the conclusion that I came to, is that if you approach it like Fallout in space, you will enjoy yourself. I was hoping for what I have dubbed as No Man's Skyrim. From the earliest looks to the showcase last year to the direct this year, it really looked like exploration was going to be more central. It was going to be more of the depth and breadth of Skyrim sort of mingled with the exploration of No Man's Sky. And so I didn't get that. And that was something that this week I expressed my frustration with that. I tend to echo what that tweet said. This week, I talked about how there were sort of some double standards I saw in some of the reviews, like we're only really comparing this to past Bethesda titles.
Yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that if you want to give a game like this a 9 or a 10, it must be compared to other games in genre. It should be compared to other games that are coming out this year. It should be compared against modern game design expectations, even, I would say, next-gen graphical fidelity as well as performance. And I think when you start doing that, as soon as you start comparing this game in those other categories, I don't think you can argue it's a 9 or a 10. I think that's a difficult thing to argue. It's an excellent game. It's at the excellent levels. I think the 7s and the 8s make a lot of sense. And I think that, for me, the reason the game grew on me is I sort of let go of what I wanted it to be. I played it on its own terms. And I said, okay, this is Fallout in space. I'd like to see what happens in the campaign.
Yeah.
But this is not the tectonic generation-defining game, that we were hoping and and pining for. I mean, least of all, the people that were, I think the folks that were like saying, oh, it's going to get 9s and 95s and
Right.
win game of the year. I would have loved that. I was saying this could be a Skyrim moment for them, but I'm afraid it's just another Fallout in my mind. It's not a Skyrim level moment. It's buzzing and everyone's talking about it, but not exactly for the reason I think everybody hoped.
So Lono, what I want to comment on, and it's a little bit of justification for me, but way before this game came out, I had been saying from what I saw, and believe me, when I tweeted this out, a couple people in the mainstream media got a hold of my tweet and they said it is not. They corrected me, Mooch. It is not Fallout in space. We have been told this is Skyrim in space, and now I'm seeing almost every outlet they hesitate and they shoo away from Skyrim. It's clearly a Fallout in space, as far as and that was my take before I played the game. It's my take after I played the game. So I'm glad you made that correlation as well. Now, K-Med, the reason I go to you here is you heard Lono. You've seen what I've been tweeting out. And I do want to say this much. Because Lono, the one thing I do want to say is Lono also said on his show today, he's enjoying the game. He's found peace with the game. So K-Med, I'm almost at that point. I'll get into a little bit of my pros and cons in a minute. K-Med, you've been defending the game and not crazy, very, very logically. You've been defending it. Where are you when you hear all of this? And where are you on what the promises were made for this game? And as you're playing through it, how you feel Xbox kind of did or did not represent, what they had in propaganda?
Yeah. So, man, first off, I'm enjoying the game.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hit, low 80s just because of the Bethesda hype, right? And because of the way the review codes went out. And it's doing what I thought it would do for me. And that's me in a subjective space, right? Objectively, I completely agree with Lono, right? We don't see any huge evolution with this creation engine 2, right? It looks like they added some physics in there and they called it good. It's a lot of jank and there's a lot wrong with the game. It has some charm, right? It has some funny shit that you experience, and that I think that is what kind of grabs people. But it's been 10 years since Skyrim, and for people to expect that same score with very little change was weird to me. And I will defend having fun in it, right? I'm not going to shit on anybody's opinions,
No.
Of whether or not they're enjoying this game. But in terms of the way Microsoft, this isn't. And I put a tweet out there like, is this going to be the new mantelpiece for Microsoft and Xbox? I think it'll be a huge game for them, and I think it's a win for Xbox and Game Pass. But that bar was low, and we just came off Redfall. So, the bar was pretty low. I think this is a good, solid game. I think people will play it for quite a few years if it gets modded out like Skyrim did, which people forget that's the longevity was really these mods, right? People created their own game in the game. So if it has that kind of traction, has those kinds of has legs like Skyrim, we'll probably be seeing it, at least in certain segments for a long time. And that's fine. But again, I don't know. I never expected it to hit the high 90s. I don't know where that expectation came from, considering the track record of Bethesda and Todd Howard.
Yeah.
I don't. I knew what I was going to get, and I think my expectations be more, low, helped enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we got kind of what people expected if they knew, what to expect. But people that fell for the hype, here we are, right? We have some disappointment. We have some people saying it's a 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. Maybe to you, right? And some people saying it's a 10 out of 10. I don't know where they're getting that from either. Like, again, we don't see.
There's a happy place in the middle there, Kay. I kind of agree with you on what you're saying, and I don't really like to put just a number on it quite yet. But the one thing I will say, though, since we're talking about that, and Lono, you said it earlier today. Eric, I'm going to ask you, Eric, are you playing the game by any chance? That's right. I'll come back. The Great Red Hood has joined
No,
us too.
I'm here.
Are you here?
sorry.
Okay, I think you had a mic
my
issue.
mic's acting weird, but I'm here.
Are
guys
you?
hear me?
Are you? Yeah, Eric, we hear you. Are you, Eric?
Okay,
Are you
good, good.
playing
Yes,
Starfield?
I am.
Okay. So, Eric,
I am.
one of the big things everyone's been talking about is you got to play this game for 20 to 30 hours, and we're gonna get into a couple of the nitpicking things. Who casually? Because you're watching a lot of people on YouTube, you're watching Twitch streamers, you're watching people on Twitter that are hardcore gamers. So hardcore gamers will easily put in 40, 50, 60 hours into a game without blinking an eye. So 20 to 30 may not seem like a lot, but how many of these people that are on Game Pass that are casual gamers, do you think are going to stick around till they get to the 20, 30? Lono said it on his show. Lono, I think you said you were at 11 hours played, or was it 20 hours? I couldn't quite make it through on the YouTube show today. Did you say you were you 11 hours in or 20?
It's around 12, but I started on Xbox, so my actual save file is like 9. But yeah, 12 total hours if you.
Okay, so and thank you, Lono, for clarifying that. I'm at literally 11 hours on Steam. My question to you is: are gamers expected, casual at most too, expected to go 20, 30 hours in before we go? Oh, now I get it. I like it.
It seems, at least from Bethesda, they are, and I'm coming at it from an angle of I'm on record. BRAP will tell you I am not a Bethesda game studio like super. I've always been more a fan of Softworks and their teams. I always thought their team better, more solid game overall. That spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming into this, but you might as well call me like a Bethesda casual because again, I'm not coming in with any preconceived notion. I've never really enjoyed their games, but I don't hate their games or anything like that. It's not like I goof on them. I say, they have butter knife physics, Skyrim and stuff like that. It's funny stuff, but I'm definitely like, you know what? It has this some aesthetics that I like, some things I want to see. So I'm gonna just come in and kind of see what it is. So to answer your question, Mooch, it seems Bethesda thinks people, or maybe they didn't even realize, or thinks people hang around for that. I don't know if like the casual will hang in there. Like I'm hanging because it's like I'm okay with kind of figuring some things out. We play Souls games. I'll figure things out. I'll kind of see what the system offer. Whether or not it will catch me after the 20 hours, I have no idea. So far, I'm rolling with it. I'm about 7 hours in. I'm running around the lodge, kind of running around doing some little quick side stuff before I take on some of the main stuff, right? But for like a casual person, I think more than anything, the story part might not catch them, but the systems will probably turn people off more than anything.
Yeah.
Because it's not really telling you how to do things. Like even me, being experienced in games, I've gone to watch videos of like Mr. Maddie and stuff like that tell me some of these little secrets that I don't know. Some of these little things because I don't play these games. What Bethesda offers is how they do. This is how their systems work, and I'm like, systems are kind of interesting. Like I'm getting a little bit more used to them, but I'm like, this would. If I was just kind of coming in to check this out, this would probably turn me off immediately. But I'm hanging in there because I am more seasoned gamer. I'm not really casual.
Do you think? But let me put you on. Let me put you on the hot seat though. Are you hanging in there because of the community? Are you hanging in there because is this something like if you were just, I'm going to the store, I'm picking up this game, I'm going home or playing it on Game Pass, regardless. Would you have kept going? Would you have kept trucking through, or is this something you would have put down and went back to another backlog game?
Like if this is something that I like paid money for.
Well,
is it like the Game Pass effect?
Well, so no, I wasn't even going to because I'm still a firm believer. When people go, well, I didn't pay anything, I played it on Game Pass. Well, you did pay something, right? I mean, nobody gave it to you. I mean, so I think you're paying for it regardless. So my thing is
right.
I feel like a lot of people are playing this game, and I'm included, and I do see some of the value in getting past the 10-hour mark now. I do.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So no, to answer your question, yes, I'm kind of hanging because. And I talked a little more about this. There's things that the community have already said, talking about the encumbrance and this and that.
Right.
It's already kind of like, ushered me into certain aspects of skill sets. I'm like, okay, I guess I should put some stuff in weightlifting because people are saying the encumbrance is a bitch.
Yeah.
Let me start there. And I'm like, so yeah, there's definitely like something like community influence. There's some parts where I'm like, okay,
yeah, I
am intrigued by what I've been playing so far. And it is that thing where I'm like, okay, I want to jump back in and see where this kind of goes next and whatever. Has it necessarily hooked me? Like, I wouldn't say I'm like hooked yet, but I can see where it starts to get to that point where you're like past a certain point. You're like, okay, I want to see. So I'm intrigued to see if that part happens. But I have no problem like bailing on it if it's not if it really isn't pulling me in. I'm not going to sit there and cap and do all that stuff.
Right.
It has a certain it has a certain area that I'm gonna or threshold I'm gonna hit where I'm gonna go. You know what? No, it's not doing it. And, and for me, that's okay because again, like I said, I'm not a Bethesda stan, so I'm not gonna go. I'll keep hanging because that's what I keep hearing from some Bethesda stands too. Is like, it took me a while, but I like these games, so I'm willing to keep like working with it and rocking on it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, that's fair because there's games I've done that for from developers that I like. I'm not one of them, so I'm definitely coming in from like the novice angle. So I'm not going to hang around if it's not keeping me.
So, and I want to get Red saying, outstanding point. And you really did answer the question perfectly. Shout out to Andre Clay. He says, Mooch just want this game to fail. Why would I want this game to fail when I bought it? Right? I did have help from an outstanding super chat last week. I want to say thanks again to Thanos for helping me out for that. But nonetheless, purchased the game, played 11 hours of it this week, right, Brad? I mean, come on. I mean, I would not put 11 hours into something. If I wanted it to fail, I would have told you I refuse to play it, and I'm just going to be cranky about it every week. I'm not. I do see the light at the end of the tunnel with this game. I'm asking the panel right now, Andre, right? Are you okay going 20, 30 hours? Shout out to the great Spawn Wave. You guys know we've had Spawn Wave on the channel multiple times. Love Spawn. Spawn just tweeted out about an hour ago, I'm about 30 hours in. I'm having fun. And shout out to the great RGT85. He goes, thanks for that great insight to Spawn Wave. They were going back and forth. But my point is that was my question to E. I want to get Red in here, BRAP. I want to get you too, because BRAP, you've made so many points on this. But Red, when you see what's going on back and forth, and you see people saying, hey, I finally got to the 20-hour mark. This is pretty damn good. Where are you, Red? I mean, is that also where you would mark games need to be played? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30? Where do you cut it off?
So it's kind of difficult to like pinpoint, right? Because like it depends like how long the game is and what mechanics are being introduced, and it's like a lot of variables that go into it. And like I think the sooner the better, but RPGs are like in a different realm, especially like how long they are, right? So I can't say because like I think everyone knows. I've said this a couple times in CrossFire and RGT that like I wasn't interested in Starfield. I kind of came to this realization a moment that I'm not gonna be overly negative of a game that I have no interest in after Fallout 4 because I didn't care for Fallout 4, and Starfield looked very much in the same type of vein, and the overpromises from Todd. I kind of like knew this going in with Starfield's marketing hype and stuff, and it's like I don't go into the fanboyism because it's like, dude, I game on PC, and I just don't care for Todd. I think there's better RPG studios out there, such as InXL, Microsoft-owned studio, Obsidian, a Microsoft-owned studio, and Larian. I love those like RPG studios. For me, I'm just been done with Todd's video game since Fallout 4. I just don't see the appeal. I don't think he has the complex writing skills of creating gray characters such as Obsidian. Obsidian's done it better with Fallout New Vegas, and as well as their own games like Pillars of Eternity. And I'm super hyped for Avowed, but I'm not this like hyped for Starfield, and I think people will enjoy it if they like the Bethesda formula. I just don't want to like hate on a product that other people like thoroughly enjoy. People actually enjoy the game. Let them enjoy the game, but like I just think because it's an exclusive, you got both sides going at one another, the PlayStation fanboys as well as the Xbox fanboys arguing. I came to this realization that if you took out the multi-platform, it would have died down, but there still would have been a conversation with Baldur's Gate 3 against Starfield in terms of RPG, very similar to back in, was it 2015 with Witcher 3 against Fallout 4. I was like, oh, this is kind of like a similar scenario that just happened yet again. So
no,
that's how I came, my thought process is. It's
no, I think you
if you like it, you like it.
I think you broke it down and you you did a good job of it, because I'll be honest with you. I know, and I will say Obsidian, I think, seems to be a little bit better in my my case as well. But I do want to say this much. I also, I don't know, like what was that called? The Outer Worlds. That
Yeah,
did.
Mooch, and that's the thing. I'm not like a Bethesda fan, but I love the Outer Worlds. I'm looking
That's a
forward to
good
the Outer
game.
Worlds too. I love the way, because I like the fact that they get you in, show you their systems, you're off and running. And the thing that I love the most about it is they said we crafted this game for multiple playthroughs, so it's about a single playthrough you do 30 to 40 hours if you want to, but then you can another playthrough that's 6 hours, 7 hours. And I'm like, my language, that's dope, because it's not. I don't feel like it's wasting my time with all these like systems. And like Red just said, that's kind of been like my thing with the Bethesda games. And no disrespect to Todd, I'm like, it's his sensibility of how a game should be. But sometimes I'm like, I don't want to really check all this stuff and manage all this stuff, and do all these different things. Like, that doesn't really intrigue me.
That is, E, thank you for bringing that in. That's a great segue to my next point. I do want to say shout out to Myers as well. Remind me, E, that I don't forget. I want to talk about the cumbersome inventory situation. Shout out to WoolleyGamer. He says, Mooch, I'm going to give Starfield its flowers when I'm on. Wooly, when you come back on in the next few weeks, I do want to have you do that, but I can't wait to hear your take on it. Shout out to King Thresh Gaming. King has legitimately done day in and day out coverage of this game, and he's really broken it down. So you got to go over and check it out. He says, super chat donation for Starfield's failure. It's time to stop blaming critics and start blaming devs. We all know this isn't up to expectations. And King, I think as we go through some of these topics, you'll see some of the things that maybe hit a few, but really were kind of lackluster in a lot of expectations. So I do kind of agree with King Thrash on that and a few subjects. The great Danelle Brown here, he says, I'm going to be playing Starfield on Sunday in my Dallas pajamas. What the hell? Danelle, where are you going with this? And watching the Cowgirls beat the Giants. Listen, why do you always got to hate on New York teams, Danelle? Shout out to the great Danelle Brown, by the way. Light X, he says here, what does 6 million users for Starfield even mean for subscription service? Is that old subs, new subs, sales, early access? What is success? AD, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The great Danelle Brown comes back. He says, I remember when BRAP was saying Starfield was game of the year a few weeks ago. Washington fans are always saying something crazy. Shake my head. I do remember that too. I think that, listen, BRAP, you might have drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid there on that. I was
wrong.
But when it comes down to it, and BRAP, I'll give you the mic real quick here, because you did say that, and I know that you've stepped back a bit. You're still enjoying the game, but you step back a bit on it. The inventory is cumbersome. Things in the game are just I've said this, and people have written me while I'm playing the game on Steam. Mooch, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I say, listen, it's an okay game, but a lot of this game, BRAP, I told you this, it still feels old. Like the game feels old. The fact that I know, and you said that's a little bit of the Bethesda charm, picking everything up, but then becoming you're over in your weight limit. And it's not that it slows you down, but you run out of oxygen. You can only do so much. It does wear and tear. I've dropped everything. I got rid of and Lono said this on his show, I believe, earlier today. I dropped helmets I wanted to keep. I dropped packs that I wanted to keep. I've dropped gear that I wanted to keep because I have to let the weight down. It's annoying. It takes you out of the game. BRAP, you hear some of this frustration, and you hear it on Twitter. It's not just coming from me. Where are you now after, I think you have almost 20 hours in.
No, I have more than that. I have almost 30 hours in.
Oh, my bad.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm 30 hours in, and the game for me really didn't start picking up until like hour 10. And I think you asked a question earlier. That's going to be a problem, I think, for casual gamers, people who may not be fans of this type of genre, RPG, open world RPG, Western RPG. I think we had this discussion last week, I think, on CrossFire, where it's going to be if you're on Game Pass, I could see people just walking away from this game because it's easy to. I think it's different when you spend $70 on a title, and versus what is it? You paid your $160 for the year. You're good. You have 300 other games you can go to.
Yeah.
There's not that sense of, oh man, I paid $70. I got to finish this game, or it's going back to GameStop. But no, it's some of the inventory system and being encumbered. That's not a new. That's staple. That's a staple Bethesda. I think the only thing I don't like about that is that in other Bethesda games, when you encumbered, your player moved like a sloth. and so you knew. You didn't have to look at a visual cue or anything to see that you were encumbered. There is a cue that comes up, but you can miss it. I've missed it, and then you don't realize that you're encumbered until you're running. And sometimes that running happens at the worst times.
Yeah.
The version of fat rolling.
Yeah, it's exactly like fat rolling. It's you're running, but then your CO2 levels go up, which will cause you to lose like some of your health status or health bar to go down. And that to me is kind of like, okay, like at least have like maybe some kind of like something on the screen that shows that you're encumbered, or maybe not allow your player to run so you're encumbered. Because this has happened to me where in the middle of a combat and by accident I pick up a bunch of things, and then all of a sudden I'm encumbered. I know I was encumbered. My guy's losing health because my CO2 levels are up. And so there's like there's small like quality of life things like that that are kind of that are annoying to me, that seem a little outdated in 2023 to have. Like I think Moochie's talked about like having the ability to pick up like knives and coffee cups and plates. Those things don't add value to me. They don't add value to the experience of Starfield to me.
No.
Like Todd Howard, that was great 20 years ago.
Right.
Because I remember playing Morrowind on the original Xbox, and I was an Xbox beta tester for those who don't know.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So those things were cool back then. And even Oblivion, they were cool. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like that we can do that. Like this world that is so interactive that you can literally pick up everything. But to me, it's lost that charm, lost that appeal, where I'm like, less is more. Like what purpose is, like, why do I need to have the ability to carry a knife, a butter knife, a cup, a pair of underwear, socks? Like it doesn't add any value to the game. I don't know why it's there anymore. Again, 20 years ago, that was cool because you could do it, and the technology, the hardware allowed for it to be done because it had never been done before.
It was
But
something
this is
new.
2023 now.
Yeah, it was something new.
Right? I mean, major big AAA releases were like further apart.
Yeah.
Now you're getting hit with, like, look how many games in 2023 we're getting hit over the head with. Like Todd wants you to pick up every knife.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta keep it moving, man.
To your point, E.
That's not his fault. I mean, that's
No.
your own time situation. But at the same time, it's sort of like, and Mooch, I'll tell you, that's one of the things back in the day that turned me off with Dead Island. I'm like, I'm not picking all this shit.
No, absolutely not.
To your point, E, in
BRAP,
2023,
BRAP, if I could,
there's a lot of games, really good games to benchmark this game against.
BRAP, here's the thing, Ricardo. Shout out to Ricardo117 in the chat. He says, Mooch, as you guys complain, Starfield gets better after 10 to 20 hours, but no complaints about Death Stranding takes 10 hours or more to get better. Ricardo, my answer to Ricardo though, real quick, is this.
Yeah.
Ricardo, no one said Death Stranding was game of the generation. It was the outlandish thoughts that were going in to what was happening before the game launched. I agree with you. Yes, you do need some time in Death Stranding before it picks up. Absolutely, and a lot of other games.
But can we stop with this whataboutism? Like, it's so annoying. We're talking about Starfield. We're not talking about Death Stranding. You want to have a Death Stranding conversation? That's another podcast.
That's a whole nother
We're talking
show.
about Starfield, and I'm tired about the whataboutism. Oh, well, what about this? What about that? Look, guys. I will say this. Yes, Death Stranding, did it take time to ramp up? Absolutely. But the one thing Death Stranding did well was that opening scene when Fragile is on the bike and she meets the main protagonist. I forget his name now.
Norman Reedus, but
Norman Reedus, and that kind of sets the tone. And then the burning of the bodies. There is a emotional hook at the beginning of Death Stranding that isn't there. And I'm sorry, like people got upset when I said this about Starfield, and I said, look, when you compare the intro of Fallout 4, Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, those games really got their hooks in you early on, like from the opening scene. And when I played Starfield, I'm like, okay, I'm going down a mining shaft on an elevator. Like, this isn't very compelling compared to my previous experiences with other Bethesda games. And people went crazy for me saying, oh, that's not true, Brad. What are you talking about? I know, actually, I go back and look at some of the other, intros. You look at, we talk about Oblivion, and I think, Mooch, you said earlier, like, this isn't a game that is a genre-defining game. It hasn't done anything, I think, to really move the needle for the genre, per se.
Yeah.
It's a good game, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I do think it's a good game. I just want to throw that out there. I do think it's a good game. It does some good things well. It does some other things not so well. And
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what else, Brap?
Mhm.
Yeah, and the thing when it came to like Death Stranding, because it was a polarizing game, but people understood. Well, I should say, level-headed. People understood that it's not for everyone. That's the key, guys. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
if someone's
Death Stranding's
saying,
definitely not
if
for everyone. And neither
someone's saying
Starfield.
that,
Yeah.
right? So, but the one thing, if we're gonna throw the Death Stranding comparison that is already out there, the one thing Death Stranding did, it didn't take 5 hours to understand the system
Yeah, Death Stranding had
as
a
far as
better
playing it.
onboarding system. Yeah, like
Yeah, and that's
I literally joked around, and I didn't realize this. If you get the Starfield Xbox controller, your tutorial's literally right there
Oh, it's
on
it's
like
this
on the controller.
Okay.
no shit, really.
Like you look at it, like it shows you like how to boost your ship inventory. Like
Yeah.
hold on, up right now. I got it right here. Yeah,
Look at
and the right
look at it right
bumper,
now.
the right bumper is more. The left bumper scan. It shows you power distribution on the left D-pad.
I would have bought the controller if I knew that, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, literally, all jokes aside, like
You've had that controller for weeks. Somebody said Mooch a Starfield controller stat. All right, listen, I got a couple things here. I got the great Rob Jones here. You see, he's trying to make the pieces. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. Enjoy gaming. Rob, we're right there with you. The great Gaming with Persona, who just had a live show before this one, he really went in. Shout out to Persona. He says, who's yelling? Me, I'm really ramped up tonight. I got to be honest with you. He says, what's good, Mooch? Shout out to Henry Hack, too, for becoming a member of the channel. Guys, it really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button. Tweet it. I'll let people know we're live. Stanley Buffington says, can you name me a mid-'80s MC game of the generation? Now, Stanley, we're going to come back to that question in a second. I got to go to Lono here, okay? I got to go to Lono. Lono, this is something that's been kind of bugging me. We've already kind of hashed all this stuff out, and I'm glad that the panel got it off their chest, me included, okay? All the things that are kind of cumbersome, but this and that. We've been talking about that for well over a week now on the show and on your show. But Xbox reports 6 million people have played Starfield. And this is me asking you, and you could say, Mooch, I don't think it is. If you don't, please answer. Why are these statistics misleading for consumers? That's my question to you. If it's too general, I'll dig deeper. I'll peel the onion back and I'll ask it in a better way. But this 6 million people stopped by, 10 million people had a glass of milk while they played. Like, picking up a game and hitting A and telling me you started the game and then you got 45 minutes in and called it quits. Xbox right now is calling that success. I don't see it quite that way. And we know that because we saw 20 million people stop by Halo Infinite the first week, right? But where's Halo Infinite? A month after. It was just non-existent. So, Lono, do you feel it's misleading with this 6 million people, 10 million people stop by and said hello? If I told you I went to a restaurant last week and it was packed, and you're like, I trust my man Mooch. I'm going to his favorite restaurant. I'm going to go there. Then you go there, you talk to the owner, and you're like, Mooch said this place was packed last week. You must be killing it. He goes, yeah, everybody came in. They did a photo op here because of the new restaurant style, but nobody bought anything. They didn't stay. So to me, a restaurant, it doesn't matter if the restaurant's packed. You got to be ordering stuff. You got to be there. You got to be playing the game in this case. Lono, is it misleading or it's not? This is fine.
I don't really know what to think of it because I don't know where they're pulling the number. I don't know what it means. They also said they hit 1 million concurrent, which that means at its peak there was about 750,000 people playing on Xbox or on PC. So Steam, peaked at whatever it was, like the 260 or something. So that means you've got to really make up a lot of ground on both Xbox and Game Pass. And when I see the Xbox store, the game is landing at a 3.6. That's the lowest score everywhere. Whether you look at Steam database, Metacritic, wherever you look. Metacritic user waste of time, but that 3.6, that's a 72%. So I have a really difficult time believing that over 700,000 people playing at a given time across the Xbox platform, because it didn't even climb into the top 5 of the most played games. You can go to that page where it shows you these are the most played games on Xbox. So I don't know where they're pulling these numbers, to be quite honest. And to a certain extent, I think what matters is long-term where this game lands as an Xbox first-party title, because if it is genuinely getting a 3.6 with the Xbox audience and the Game Pass audience, I think at some levels are going to struggle with this. I think even the people that love the game are saying it's a very slow start. I got to get to hour 10 before it turns. Matty Plays himself said it wasn't until about the 20th hour he started really having fun. He was kind of worried about the game. And I just think if you're playing this on Game Pass and you've kind of been conditioned to quote unquote get to try out games, this is not an ideal game to try. You actually have to commit. You've got to put a lot of time in. You've got to learn the systems. And so, yeah, the 6 million, I get a little worn out by the measuring contest that happened on Twitter with respect to both of the platforms, because every game is different. Every game has a different context. I know when Final Fantasy 16 had 3 million in its first week, everyone ignored the fact there was only 38 million PlayStation 5s in circulation, and they compared it to other Final Fantasies that launched on multi-platform. And it's like, why are we doing this? We're always comparing sales and stats, and it's like there's never an equal comparison. There's almost never an actual equivalency.
Yeah.
It was like the screenshots of Baldur's Gate that were circulating on PS5 where there was a frame dip. And then the Digital Foundry video comes out and it's like, yeah, the thing, it runs fine. Like, what's the deal here? What are we doing? So the 6 million or the 1 million concurrent, from my perspective, Microsoft always talks about stuff that just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Right? Is it a commercial success? Are you going to keep investing in what Bethesda's doing? Are you checking the Game Pass attrition off of this? Like, is this actually turning into a good look for Game Pass or not? Because if it isn't, I mean, the numbers on Steam are okay. They haven't surpassed Fallout 4's number as far as and if that's the case, where does Microsoft see Bethesda's future titles landing? Like, what's going to happen to Elder Scrolls 6? What about ongoing support for Starfield? Are they going to rework the UI? Are they going to reconsider the onboarding? I think the onboarding for a new player is awful. Like, it just takes so long to get going. And unless you're sort of accustomed to Bethesda games, it's very, very easy to drift from this game very quickly. Most of the people that are enjoying it kind of had to force themselves to put through. And I don't think that's an ideal game for Game Pass. And I'm very curious what Microsoft fundamentally concludes about this game. No matter what they tell the public, really matters is what they decide on the back end. Because I don't want Bethesda to look like 343 in a couple of years.
You know, so Lono, that's a great point. K-Med, I'll go to you on this because Lono, a great serve of the volleyball. Now, K-Med, you could spike this down. That's great. What do you think when you hear this 6 million thing? You know, is this impressive? Is this impressing you? And what Lono just said, if this is their new metric and this is what they're going through, what does this speak? This speaks volumes, and it kind of goes with another one of my topics that we're going to talk about in a minute here about things I never thought I'd say. Kay, I have a gaming PC. Next year when the 50 cards, the 50 series, I'm probably going to up again. I have a 2080, and Lono, you'll agree to this, right? I mean, and Kay, because I want to go back to you, but Lono, me and you happen to have the same card, I believe. My 2080 Ti, I'm playing right now Starfield when I'm not in Atlantis, okay? When I'm out there, you know, in the world or on various planets, I'm getting somewhere between 45 to 60 frames on medium settings. And I haven't, you know, tinkered with it crazy, but then when I'm in Atlantis, it's usually 35 to 40, again, medium settings. Could I lower everything to low? I could, but at that point, you know, what am I doing at that point? I don't want to look at just, you know, gray soup as floor. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, Kay, where are you with this? Because I got to be honest with you. I know that a lot of the Xbox camp sees Phil tweet this out and they tweet it and they're excited. I read it over and over again. I don't know, what does it actually mean? I mean, where's the quantity of, if there's 30, we have 25 to 30 million, right? Game Pass subscribers. So, and he originally said 1 million concurrent, right? And then there's Steam. Where should the number even be higher than 6 million at this point? I mean, what?
Yeah, numbers are the worst, right? Like, this is the worst part of gaming, in my opinion. But it's something that always ends up coming up. Sorry if there's dogs in the background. But 6 million out of 30 million subs, right? To me, isn't a huge win. I don't know why they even bother advertising these numbers, to be honest. Like, sometimes saying nothing is better than saying something.
Right.
You know, let the people enjoy the games. I mean, all you really did was it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves of the success of this game.
Yeah.
We don't know, and like Lono said, I mean, we don't know what goes on in the background. We don't know how much these games cost, you know, how much the actual profit is on some of these games. In this case, we kind of know how much Starfield cost and how long it's been, in dev, but it's not a number by itself without context is kind of meaningless. And with all the spread on all these different platforms, um, is Xbox playing a numbers game or are they not? Right?
Right.
It's kind of like I gave up on the numbers game with Xbox. I will play their games when they're good and or when I like them and be done with it. I don't. I mean, even Phil has stated, right? I mean, they're not going to win a numbers game. So why are we still like focus on everything but those numbers? Because I don't think these are wins. I don't think you're going to win a numbers game. Focus on those cool, ships that people are creating, right? I mean, get your marketing to do that kind of shit and drive people to say, hey, that looks cool. Maybe I want to play this game.
Right.
Or maybe I want to, invest a little bit more time and get to the point where I can build some cool ship like that, right? But to say 6 million, like 6 million what?
What?
6 million start menus, 6 million played an hour, gave up, 6 million what?
It's not.
I don't.
Kay, the only reason I say no, Kay, your frustration on that is where I'm at. And shout out to Andre Clay. He's there. There's Mooch trying to downplay as usual. I'm not downplaying anything.
You know what's really tiresome about like that comment to you, Mooch, is that like, God forbid if you ask questions.
I'm just asking exactly.
God forbid if you critically think about anything and ask questions. I mean, it's
you can't. You're
it's
not
just
allowed.
downplaying.
You're
Guys,
not allowed.
I do
So
have a
ridiculous.
question. I
ahead,
keep
Kay.
seeing this game of the
Yeah.
generation. Okay.
Right.
Everybody's saying game of the generation.
No.
All right. So no. But I don't agree either. But I'm trying to think back. Like, what are people comparing this to? What other games of the generation were there? Is The Last of Us a game of the generation? Is Half-Life 2 a game of a generation? Right? What are these games of the generation that people are trying to hold Starfield up to? I'm not defending Starfield here. I'm just like, where is this even coming? What when you say that, what am I expecting? What is a game of a generation? Like, do we have a list?
No, that's a good question. Go ahead, Lona.
I was gonna say I kind of wanted to respond to some of the people in chat being like, well, why are you worried? Microsoft makes so much money. What's the deal? And it's like, well, Microsoft is closing Xbox in 2014. So my question is, why are you not worried? Like, this is a part of their strategy. Phil Spencer says, ABK is not our strategy. It's accelerant to our strategy. Ergo, this is part of their strategy. This acquisition of ZeniMax was to accelerate their strategy. So my question is, when we see numbers, okay, sure, maybe they're not speaking to us. I think that's generally they're just speaking to the public. Like, hey, look how many people are playing. Why don't you come and play? I think that's mainly cool.
Yeah.
But that's why I said my main concern is internally, what is Microsoft concluding from this? Do they see ROI? Do they say, okay, go ahead with Elder Scrolls 6. Here's all the money you need. Here's the increased bandwidth. Here's the hiring. Here's the expansion. Look what they did to 3 and ask the question, did Starfield achieve what Microsoft and Xbox wanted when we're seeing a 3.6 on the Xbox store and we're seeing the score drop basically everywhere as the weeks transpire? Like, it was strong right at first because all the early access people, they kept the game. 12,000 reviews hit Steam in an instant. It's fallen ever since. I said it was going to struggle to hold 80% on Steam. It's dropped from 86 to 80. It's barely holding on to the. You have to ask that question. What's the strategy this is accelerating? Because they want ABK, they want King, they want mobile, they want this ecosystem idea. Is Starfield serving that aim? Like, this was a massive project, massive budget. Don't kid yourself. Elder Scrolls 6 would likely be bigger and cost more. And if it doesn't do what Microsoft wants it to do, look at their history. That's what's. I mean, they will make dramatic changes. I don't think people will like to if Xbox and Microsoft decide they're not getting the ROI that they wanted to see.
Yeah, can I just?
I was going to say, I just want to. I'll let you go, Brad. I just want to say what Lona just said is true because that's where the fan side comes in. Like, well, they talk to us. They're our friends. They do this. They do that. They're consumer friendly. Everybody is until they feel everything's going either or going really bad. So it's like, well, they said they're going to be hands off. They're going to do this and that. Well, that'll be fine too until things are not going the way they need to go. And then guess what? We're all in and telling you what to do, how it's going to be. and you're a part of this now, so it's not much you can really say.
You are kind of limited, but and shout out to world-renowned GeoHound. I really said thanks to him. He says, I really do realize that you're not allowed to question. That's the thing I don't understand. That's the one thing I love about having this show. And I welcome anyone's always welcome. I invite anyone who wants to come on and have a discussion. I'm all about it. I really think it's great to question it. Why did Xbox stop providing real numbers? Why are we doing these phony things that just they don't mean anything to anybody? You've got the gaming media that's even saying we don't really know what this means, but you know, and you even got God Emperor Sofa King. He says, are they not allowed to celebrate? Absolutely, they're allowed to celebrate. But we're celebrating like what? Like, I mean, it's just Halo Infinite. They said 20 million. I don't have the exact number in front of me. BRAP or Lono, if you have your notes, because you guys are very detailed as well. If you guys have anything,
they said 20 million.
20 million people stopped by Halo. Halo died a month later.
And now it's like the current player base for Halo is abysmal right now.
It's not
it's
good.
Bad.
It's not good.
Hey, no, and guys didn't want to ask questions then. We were asking the questions. We were told you're not really a Halo fan if you
you're not a Halo fan.
If you don't look at that reveal and feel like that's Halo going back to the roots, then you're just not a fan. You should be quiet. Okay, well, you don't ask questions. That's what you get.
Kind of piggyback off what Lono said. I think this is a very important. What Lono said was actually spot on. I was actually going to say the same thing. ROI, return of investment. How much money are they making? These games aren't free to make. These games are going to have to pay for themselves. The service is going to have to pay for these games. Microsoft isn't going to be making games for free, people. Like, they're just not going to do that. So $6 million.
They got more money than God. They're going to forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. But and that's a question, and that's a fair question. Like, what does that $6 million mean? Does that mean $6 million purchase? How much? Like, what does that mean in terms of revenue? Like, that's still the ultimate measuring stick. How much money is this game making for Microsoft? You know, people are talking about, we don't know. People are saying things like, like some of the live chat saying, well, this is the most successful launch in Bethesda history. And I'm like, okay, but it's off of 6 million people that 6 million people logged in, tried it for 5 minutes? Okay. What does that mean? But what does that mean to revenue? Did it drive more Game Pass subscriptions? Mm-hmm. If it did, how many? Those things, the downstream effects of those things are to revenue, profitability. Like Lono, I think what you're saying is ROI, right? Like, where's that? Like, we don't know. Like, with Fallout 4, I believe its first launch week, I think drove about 750 million in revenue. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. And
so, like, what is this game paying for itself? Like, those are legitimate questions, and it's fair for someone to say, "Hey, wait a minute. If these games aren't driving revenue numbers and driving profitability and making Microsoft money, at some point they're only going to give away the milk for free."
Yeah.
At some point they're going to say, "Wait a minute, guys. We either need to pivot. This thing isn't making business sense for us because we're not making money." And if you listen to things like, if you listen to what Strauss Zelnick, and we have people in the industry, Strauss Zelnick, Sean Layden, even what's his name from Activision. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. Bobby Kotick was like, yeah, the business model doesn't make sense. It's not a sustainable business model. Like, you get people in the industry saying this. People actually understand the economics of game development, and people are like, oh no, it's fine. Well, maybe it's not fine. And it's fair to ask those questions because, like you said, Lono, like Microsoft at some point could say, you know what, we're done, or they could completely go in a different way. They could say, you know what, we're just going to go. We're just going to start. We're going to do what Apple did. We're going to do. We're going to reduce the amount of lifting we're doing. We're going to just put our games out on mobile platforms and make games 99 cents and charge people money, and we're going to make a ton of money. And actually, that's what Microsoft wanted to do at some point before Phil Spencer kind of quote unquote saved the day. They wanted to go and actually go back to. They actually wanted to do what Apple was doing, because Apple was making so much money without actually owning studios and just putting out very cheap games, low cost of entry for gamers to go on their mobile platform and to interact with games. They did that, and Apple's made a lot of money doing that. And Microsoft thought about doing that at one point. So, I mean, these are fair questions to ask. I don't think anyone should be upset about that, especially if you're someone that enjoys the content that Xbox is currently putting out.
Right. Now,
and I continue to say that quickly. I just continue to say it's difficult for me to have confidence in Microsoft as a game brand because I have no idea where they're going. I don't know what the identity of the platform is anymore because we went from Project Scarlet marketing to Series S is the focus, and if Starfield is what they consider an excellent at quality release, then what does that mean for Fable? What does that mean for Hellblade and Avowed? What does that mean for future titles? Like, just ask people point blank, like, are you okay with how Starfield shipped? Like, is this the standard you're good with? You're good with games shipping capped at 30? You're good with games looking like this? Like, I don't think Starfield looks that impressive. It does at times, but overall, I would not say this is a next-gen display of power. And so we went from this identity in Project Scarlet and the Series X and power and all this stuff to now, what's the identity of the platform? Where are you going? What is the strategy that Phil Spencer referenced? Like, I have a hard time getting behind them and saying, me as a gamer, because when I bought the Series X, I bought into something that doesn't exist anymore. That identity is gone. I'm now playing first-party Xbox titles on my PC. Like, that is a huge shift. So I don't know where people get the confidence to say they know what they're doing. I'm with them. This is a great direction. I'm as Hellblade is one of my all-time favorite games. I'm terrified for how that game eventually comes out. But my confidence is the lowest it's probably been in the brand of Xbox.
So
Yeah,
can I say something?
Go
Wait.
ahead. Go
Let me
ahead,
say
Red.
one thing, because I don't think anyone can argue one way or the other, right? Because when we say 6 million in terms of numbers, right? I feel like we all know it's Steam sales, as well as early access, as well as Game Pass numbers, as well as Xbox sales, and all that combined. I feel like when we say we don't know, no, we do know when it comes to all that. And of course, when we say Game Pass, it could be pressing the menu button, right? But a lot of their sales on Steam were accounting for the premium price tag, which was what, $100 or something like that. So
Yeah,
I don't feel
yeah.
like we could have confidence and say one way or the other. Only Microsoft would know, and them publishing the numbers seems like they're confident with it. I'm just putting that out there because it's like, I don't personally know, and I don't think anyone really knows. It's all speculation, but Steam sales show that a lot of people did purchase the premium price tag.
Well,
That's
I
a
will
good
say
point.
to Red Hood's point, the one thing that was impressive was the current users on Steam at 200 something thousand people. I forget what it was, but 260,000 maybe, that got early access, paid about $100. Do the math. That's good money. But I guess what I'm wondering is how does it break down elsewhere? We know about Steam. We don't know about how, because I go back to Halo Infinite. I mean, Halo was 20 million people, 30 million for Forza. But to me, like, what's the downstream impact to revenue, to profitability of that 30 million? We don't know that. That's kind of where I'm questioning, like, okay, well, at some point, this thing has to make them money. Are they making money? We don't know. I mean, Phil Spencer says it's profitable. We also know that they're bearing some of the costs, infrastructure costs in Azure. But if you look at the financials, you kind of do the math. But again, I think that, kind of what like Lona was saying about, their identity as a brand and kind of the things that they were marketing with the Xbox Series X. Now, that's why I bought a Series X, because of, the 60 FPS, the most powerful console. They haven't delivered on those things. And what's concerning to me is that now 30 FPS is okay. Now all these other things that Microsoft's doing is okay. And it's like, well, wait a minute, guys. Like, they promise all these things, and now you're, as Eric, as you always say, they always acquiesce to things that Microsoft does, and it's like,
Every
you guys,
single thing.
yeah, this is to your,
Acquiesce to every single thing. Microsoft tells them this is like now. This is how you should go
yeah,
with it.
this is to their own detriment that they're not questioning them. It's like, no, wait a minute, you promised this, and you're not doing this.
I had Enrique, man. He had too many fights with people with Scorpio symbols in their avatar. I got the blocks to prove it. Off of talking about this, and it was the power until Microsoft introduced yes, and all of a sudden that became okay. And when I remember, like when Phil and Matt both backed off of the power narrative, and it became
Eric, do you think that they pivoted when they saw the S take off on their side, or do you think that was always the plan? Because they did come out with the power narrative. That was such a strong push, before the consoles launched.
Monster that eats monsters. It was all this other stuff.
Right.
We have been saying on BRAP since the 1X was introduced. Like, they've not given a game that shows why this thing exists, and then that just completely went away. and now it's all about the S.
It's
And
all about the
all
S.
these people who are talking teraflops all the way up to the beginning of the gen are now defending the S.
Absolutely.
You can't even mention the possibility, the idea, the notion that this thing could be, an
You get
Achilles
jumped on.
heel of game development. That's a no-no.
Right.
And it's like, why? You were the power guys. Why wouldn't you question that?
Yeah, it's quite.
You were the one saying that the PS5 is going to be decimated, and and Mark Cerny's a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You're saying that from behind the counter at Wawa, but hey, it is what it is.
No,
but that was the power narrative, and then the power narrative is dead. That is gone.
That's gone.
Yeah.
That's gone. No, that's completely gone. I do want to say this though. Shout out to Lord Metroid. Of course, he has. Being a Nintendo fan must be easy in these console war streets, right? He's always getting a W. Lord Metroid says Switch 2 will sell like bonkers, and Tears of the Kingdom is game of the year. Salute, Lord Metroid. Here's to you, my good friend. So, Lono, I'll go back to you. I want to get because I'm really proud of myself. We're really going through a couple of these topics here, and I still have Lono for an hour here. All right, so here we go. Here's my next thing. This really kind of gets me. I've been saying this for a long time. The Metacritic scores, because Lono, you just touched on this in your last when you said, let me get the mic here. The scores have fluctuated. We knew this was going to happen. We saw who was getting the codes prior to launch. We saw that a few of the big outlets were snubbed in the UK. Now those guys have had their week. They're maybe going to have another. You'll see it. I think you're still going to see more scores come out in the next 7 days because people probably really want to put a good 2 weeks into this game to give it the fair chance. I mean, Lono, my question to you basically is, are we now starting to see, it's twofold, the bias in the agenda coming from influencers and people in ratings and reviews? And can we even take Metacritic serious anymore?
It's difficult. I think user scores on Metacritic are sort of a joke because they don't verify purchase. And I think they're okay with that. I think they love review bombing. I think review bombing is great for their, it just drives traffic.
Yep.
Because then there are people that are going to try to counter the review bomb. So I think the user score is just kind of become it's a bit of a joke. Like if I ever see a game with a really high user score on Metacritic, I'm like, how'd they do that? Like how did they survive not, provoking just trolls on the internet to bring the score down just to affect that. But as far as the actual critics and the critic scores, I generally look at this and see extremes as to ignore. Like 4s and 5s, I'm like, oh, okay, come on. This game is got its rough edges. It's obviously not exactly what a lot of us were hoping for, but I don't know if we can say this thing, is a 4 or a 5. If you spent, 50 to 60 hours in it, I would have to read those reviews, see how they substantiate taking just so many points, right? And when I see 9s and 10s, especially the 10s, I tend to think the same thing. It's like when in a year that is this full, this year is busting at the with just high quality, high caliber game. I struggle to think this game is genuinely a 10 in any. Like they're obviously padding that, trying to sort of help this. So the idea that there's this media bias against Xbox, it's like, well, some of that bias might be like they haven't done a great job for a while. They've been kind of striking out. Their games haven't been doing so great, or just they haven't been coming, or then when they show up, they're either showing up late and then also missing features, or they're showing up late and they're in the state that Red falls in. Like I get why review outlets or publications might be a little fed up with, Microsoft and that have been coming from them. And so I think a lot of people saw Starfield as, okay, this is going to be the time that we really get respected. We're going to be in 90, have these amazing scores. And a lot of us just said, no, it's probably going to land in the 80s. And I think for a game of this size, 80 is a respectable score. I think it means the game is good. It's not excellent. And I think that that's totally fine. The fact that me saying that is hate, I'm bashing the game. I just think that people are overly sensitive. Like calling a game good, not great, or saying 7s and 8s are deserved because I don't see excellence. If you compare this game to any other game that is coming out this year, front running for game of the year, if you compare it to any other game in its genre, I just think it falls short in almost every category. Elden Ring was compared to other games. It was compared to other games in genre. It was compared to open world games. And it wasn't just compared to FromSoft games. And that's why that game was given excellent.
Mhm.
And I don't think you can do that with Starfield. I think as soon as you start to do that, the veneers start to kind of chip and fade. The engine is old. I have my own concerns about them sticking with this engine for Elder Scrolls 6 because if this is what Elder Scrolls looks like and it comes out in like 29, I can't imagine it even surviving. It wouldn't be taken seriously. It would feel like it's locked in time. This game feels like it's locked in time.
That's what I was saying, Lono. I feel like this game feels like it's old. Now, Lono, people in the chat are saying your audio's dipping in and out. Is that... I do want to say right now, we are getting a pretty intense storm here. So I hope I don't lose power. I don't think it's on my end. Lono sounds crystal clear to me. So am I also botting? I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's something that's maybe just... Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come here. So if my power does go out, because I apologize, we are getting some crazy thunderstorms. BRAP will attest to this. It must be an East Coast thing because he's got weather. I've got bad weather here too.
Someone in the live chat said Lono's audio is powered by the S. Oh man.
No, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's my... it says Mooch, you're good.
You guys sound good to me. I mean,
Lono sounds good to me too. So I don't know why Lono would be botting. It doesn't sound like he's botting at all. But I do want to piggyback off what Lono said. Red, I want to go to you because I want to talk a little bit how you feel about the Metacritic scores. But this game, it is a little bit concerning because, in all honesty, I said to BRAP. BRAP wrote me. He goes, "Oh, I see you're playing. What do you think?" I said, it's not that I'm not having a good time with it, but it just feels like I'm playing a last gen game to a certain extent. Every time I go in and out of a room, loading screen. You get onto a thing, loading screen. There's nothing really to do in the ship but drop the junk you don't want and then get in the pilot thing and it goes into a loading screen. And then anytime you want to fast travel to a planet, you're in a loading screen. It's just, it doesn't feel next gen. And listen, there's a lot of people in the chat. I want to let you guys know, if you're enjoying this game, I'm not here to take that away from you. I'm going to continue playing Starfield all weekend. I like it enough to keep playing it. All I'm just saying is that we can't question why some people are giving 7s and why some people are giving 8s. And you're like, no, it's 9 or 10 or bust, right? So, I mean, Red, where are you on this? And then I want to hear what Kay's got to say as well.
I feel like as gamers, like Metacritic should never be the end all be all. Like the only reason like people use it is like either for developers that have like a bonus tied to it, which was like similar to like Fallout New Vegas, where Obsidian had to get a certain like Metacritic score, and then they were able to get their bonus, which they weren't able to get it. I think it's just dumb because like there's like so many metrics in terms of reviewing a game that you can't get across, and everyone just looks at a score and is like, boom, either I buy it or not. Like I feel like people should just like look towards more content creators that gives the pros and cons about everything, and that should be the purchasing decision for any type of game that you're interested in. But people aren't like that. People just use Metacritic scores in terms of console warring on Twitter, PlayStation fanboys, Xbox fanboys, and they're like, look at my game. And the same thing when it goes to Nintendo fanboys, they do the same thing, and to prop up a title so that they can just say, look at my plastic box, look how much better it's doing than other said plastic box. I just think at this point it's just like so tiresome to see it. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to play good games that I'm interested in, to see how people are hyped about certain games, this, that, and the third. And like that's me. That's how I feel about it. Not other people are gonna agree with that assessment, but it's just like, enjoy what you want to play. I don't think looking at a Metacritic score should deter you one way or the other.
No, I really don't know. Kay, what do you think? I think I like Red. I really, really agree with you, but let me piggyback off of what Red said to Kay. He's saying basically you shouldn't do that. Do you think that Metacritic still holds the weight that it once did? I know I was on plenty of podcasts, this one here. I used to think Metacritic was the say-all, be-all back in the day. It was like, oh my God, you're really... And remember, even developers, Kay, used to get paid a bonus or so if the Metacritic score crossed a certain threshold. That's now not the case anymore with most, if not all, developing teams. They don't really do that anymore. So with this, I mean, listen, you can't say it's not true, right? I mean, a lot of channels have, you're definitely, you have an audience. Your audience tunes in to hear what you're saying. So there's a bit of a bias as an agenda there. So you have these, you have people that were getting this game early. And all those people, I mean, the game came out, like, I think it shot up to a 90 something, then it dropped down to 88 and it sat there for a while. Then it stayed at 87 for a long time. And I even said on the show last week, I think this is probably going to drop. And we had some people on the panel that said, no, I think it's going to go up. I said, I don't think so. I got to be honest with you. I don't see that happening once you get everybody who's gotten a chance that didn't get the early. So, okay, two things. Can you really use Metacritic anymore besides console war talk? I mean, there's just too much bias and agenda involved in the Metacritic score. And I'm not saying media bias either. I'm saying there's just everything runs off of clicks and this and that. Now it's a different world. We don't live in the same world that it was 10 years ago. Okay,
dude. No. And we don't live in the same world where you rented a game based off of the box art, right? I mean,
right.
This is long lost, dude. Everything is to get the bag, right? So my faith in media has dwindled over the last 10 years. So I think, man, how I use Metacritic, and sometimes people just get pissed because I'm too middle of the road. But man, I look at Metacritic and I'm looking for 4s and 3s, and I'm looking for 10s. And if something lands kind of in the middle there, then, and I want to play it, I fucking buy it because I have a job. I'm a grown ass man. $70 is not going to make or break me. If it makes or breaks you, I think you have other problems to address before you are using Metacritic to make your financial decisions. So
okay, now you're shaming people, man. You can't do
that. Yo, I'm just saying, like people get really invested, and it's not that big of a deal, is what I'm saying. Like if a game scores a 7, then you're looking at both sides and you're like, some people liked it, some people hated it. Gollum, right? I played Gollum.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, like the Metacritic was right on a game like Gollum, like I rented that shit just to play for shits and giggles, and it was as bad as everybody said. So you can't fully ignore, the scores. I don't think ignoring everything, that's just going to put you in a confirmation bias. You're going to be in a little echo chamber.
Okay,
So,
I would say this though, but like, let's say Metacritic aside, if you did your due diligence of like researching and seeing like content creators like making videos on the game, like you can come to that assessment without the critic score.
Yes, you can. But you're also the content creators that you click with. You're introducing a little bit of your bias in there too. I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's with every review. They have their own personalities and whatnot like that. But they'll mention those huge issues with columns.
Yes, yes. I mean, they should.
Like Charlie, right, from Moist Critical. Like he played the game, gave his own like type of review, and it laid out the issues with the game that isn't a score. Like he'll like lay everything out and he'll have his moist meter or whatever. But before that, he lays everything out to the point where it's like, yeah, and that is something I don't want to purchase.
And so, I mean, look for the warning signs, but a game like Starfield doesn't scream warning signs, right? Anybody that is saying it's a 4 or a 3 is doing it for a reason that's probably disingenuous. I'm just going to call it as it is. And anybody that's saying this is a perfect fucking game, I'm also looking at sideways.
Yeah,
because it's not perfect. I'm having a great time with it. Again, like I will defend it to a certain degree. Like just let yourself play it. At least play it before you say, hey, no, this sucks. If you play it and it's not for you, that's fine. But I think the scores here are deserved. So does that say that Metacritic is completely out of the picture? I think OpenCritic, Metacritic, I mean, those sites serve a purpose, but again, they are used for console wars mostly, right? And I mean, everybody's one-upping. If you come in, I joked, but if you come in to this argument between, this battle between Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield, you would think Baldur's Gate 3 was a PlayStation exclusive. You would think it hadn't been out, Act 1 hadn't been out for like 3-4 years on PC.
Okay,
right? You would think that. Why? Right? I mean, why? It's console wars.
In all honesty, Kay, you made a couple of good points there. I do want to say, though, shout out to King Thresh Gaming. Says, but Metacritic is broken until they regulate how reviews are made. I want to just say, I think he's right in that. And I don't have the answer right now. I just saw the question. But I think there needs to be, what do you guys think? I'm using the word vetting. You can't just, you have to have a much more strict who's allowed to vote in this
Yeah, I
role.
agree.
Right? You have
I
to
agree.
have more.
But it's broken,
listen,
but it's all we have.
and I don't even know this for certain, but
Well,
I
we have
remember,
Open Critic.
I remember a friend.
Yeah,
Right, there's
yeah,
Open Critic.
you're
but,
right.
Yeah, but that's even more wide open, isn't it?
No, they.
is that more
Open
strict?
Critic. The thing I like about Open Critic, they don't take like the 3 out of 5 reviews and turn it to like a review.
So they
score out
don't
of
weigh
10.
them the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that they should do a better job of when I say vetting, I mean, listen, the hotel business. Okay, you know when somebody goes, I'm staying at a 3-star or 4-star or 5-star hotel or whatever it is. Right? I don't even think it goes to 5-star. I think it's 3-star or 4-star. But my point being is that the hotel gets a list of things that they have to do and provide, whether it be service or what they have to get that rating. I think they just, and people are going to go, Mooch, Metacritic already has that. Okay, then they need to really, really tighten down and make it even harder. Okay, make the curriculum to get in, you have to vet a little harder. You can't just let anybody do it. I feel like they're letting I mean, you see some of the names of the people that are like putting their posts in there. You know, it's like, you know, I'm making this up, but it's like, I love Bethesda said. Well, what?
Yeah,
You know,
Xbox #1 said.
You know, it's like, okay.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, the thing that frustrated me about the review scores is that everybody wanted to attack IGN for their 7, and obviously people are getting mad when they see 4s and 5s, and they start claiming there's bias, and it's like, well, everybody has a bias. Okay, we have to accept that.
Right.
If someone is a huge Bethesda fan, if somebody's a huge Xbox fan, we know that bias is going to dictate the score. So if somebody has Xbox in their name as an outlet and they give it a 10, are you also going to reject that score? Are you going to say, well, this isn't legitimate because this is obviously an outlet that favors Xbox? To me, I think, and I encourage people to do this, like, everybody's going to have a bias. A bias is not a reason to reject a score. It's a reason to understand it. Okay, so this guy loves Bethesda. So his Bethesdian bias is driving his score and review. And then do you have a strong Bethesda bias? Do you sort of vibe with what the guy's saying? And I think that's where, if you have enough self-awareness and awareness of the platforms you're reading, the bias doesn't matter as much as what can you take from it. I think every review is valuable, even if it's super obvious somebody's just slamming it with a 4 or giving it a 10 because they love Phil Spencer. I think those reviews still have value. But when it comes to the user scores, if you're not going to verify purchase, don't talk to me. I don't care. If they're not actually somebody that purchased the game, their score means nothing.
Yeah, no, that's actually really well put. And I think I like where you went with that, because I'll agree with that. Regardless if it's somebody who gave it a 4 or a 10, I do value reading. I read them and I see what they're saying. I don't base my judgment off of it, but they do put time and effort into writing some of these things. So even though you can see that the bias is there in either direction, you're right, Lono, you said it. Encourage people to go read those, take a look at them. It doesn't impact for me at the end of the day, when I pick up the controller and I play a couple of hours, when I put the controller down, take a break, am I excited to go back to picking up the controller? That's my mental review. Am I excited to get back into this world? Is it immersive? Is it so fast action paced that I can't wait to get back into it? I'm at work and you're like, oh my God, I have these two quests I can't wait to get done when I get home. These are some of the flags that go off that you've got something special that you bought, that you love, and you might become a massive fan of. Got a couple super chats here. Shout out to TrueWiddy. He says, I got a 4080 PC because the Xbox can't do what Microsoft promised. Now playing all Bethesda games on PC, and question, can devs pay bills with player numbers? So I know where he's going with at the end of that. But you know what? So I guess TrueWiddy got it. I didn't send TrueWiddy my topics list, but he kind of did something there. BRAP, I'm going to start with you on this because I know that you're a PC gamer, as is Red. But I'll say this much. I've talked to you. I've said it on the air. Redfall, 30 frames. Starfield, 30 frames. I'm not saying it's a trend. I'm seeing one possibly growing. This is the first time ever I have Xbox Series X's in my house, and I have Game Pass Ultimate, and I decided to play this game on Steam because I'm going to get more bang for my buck on the PC I have, but also the mods are going to do some really crazy, awesome things I think the future is going to bring. I guess my question here is it time, because you see a lot of Xbox fans on Twitter, they're like, well, I'm going to play it on PC. I have a PC and an Xbox. Is it time as an Xbox fan to buy a gaming PC in the near future? Is it a case, BRAP, where we're going to see? Lono said it. He said, he didn't say it for this reason. He said, I'm concerned about Elder Scrolls 6 and things that are going to be coming down the pipe. What if the next Bethesda game or the next big AAA game is also at 30 frames? Is it time to build a PC, especially if you're an Xbox fan? Things could be coming down that road as well for PlayStation. I'm not saying they're out of the woods, but is that a case right now, or is that too early to say?
I would, my personal opinion, I think if you have the means to do it, get a PC.
Yeah.
And I think Starfield is like the icing on the cake for me. That I did right by getting rid of my Series X and going the PC route. Just because I'm not playing that game at 30 FPS. I'm getting, in probably more like congested areas, 60, sub 60, but never below 55.
Right.
So, and I don't, and I have, despite the limited options with the PC version of Starfield in terms of graphical settings and no FOV and things like that, there's still options that the console doesn't have. So I would say if you have the means to do it, go out and get a PC. It's going to offer you, I think, in my opinion, more flexibility. It'll give you the ability to mess with settings and get the kind of performance you may not get on a console. And but again, I mean, I think everyone's situation is a little bit different. So I mean, some people can afford the more expensive PC option, others can't. I get that, but I've always said this. I've kind of joked around, but my opinion, just based on my experience, my PC is the real Xbox, not the Series X.
Whoa. Do the exact opposite. PC gaming is closed. We do not want to pay for online. You guys be paying for online on PlayStation
that is true.
and
That is
Xbox. You're gonna bring it over here. We don't want you there.
No, that's a great point too. There's
It's
other
closed.
benefits too. Yeah, we don't pay for online. Yeah, and ironically enough, I went with the Steam version of Starfield because of my experience with Halo Infinite. That Halo Infinite just didn't work well. The Xbox launcher, it would crash on me, and I wasn't the only one that had that issue.
Yeah.
And so I went the Steam route with Halo Infinite. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna. I don't think there's been those issues with Starfield on the Xbox launcher, but PC is just I primarily game on PC. It's funny, I get called Pony a lot, but I primarily game on PC, and it's the best decision I've ever made. If you could do it, I encourage anyone to do it.
All right, so Lono, I'll go to you on this, and I know a lot of people. I'm just curious. It's just a great debate discussion here, Lono. I mean, again, we both have 2080 Ti's, and if I'm misspeaking, please let me know. But I mean, are you more curious if another game? Let's be honest, I never would have thought a year ago that if you told me, Mooch, Redfall and Starfield will be 30 frames without a 60 frame option on the Series X, I would have thought you were crazy. So I gotta ask you, is it logical for Xbox fans to maybe start thinking about building some sort of a gaming PC?
I mean, I'm already thinking about upgrading mine because it's 4 years old. It's good. It's good, but it certainly isn't up to par if I want to turn it up or if I want guaranteed, smooth frames per second, because that is what I prioritize. I was thrilled to see Jedi Survivor have its performance mode. That was a huge frustration for me. I stopped playing the game. It was so bad. So I'm putting Final Fantasy 16 down. It's like, okay, well, now I'm waiting for them to fix their performance mode. And so when I look at the 30 FPS situation, my thought process is this is not what we were promised. This is not what I paid for. And this is what I value. Everybody's different. Look, you don't value frames per second. If you're good with 30, and that's fine with you. Look, I'm not going to tell you how you should game, but if you value 60 FPS, I really do have that fear that people are saying I'm still cutting out. I don't understand.
I have no idea.
I can hear him clear.
He's crystal clear. Crystal clear. And no one else, I don't Lono, if you want, finish your thought and then maybe just jump out and jump back in. You're crystal clear to me. I have no idea. If you're
weird.
If you're coming through,
let's see what the chat. I know it's one person saying it. Maybe it's on their end or Or what?
Okay,
I got no
before-
clue.
No, I went back and listened to the segment. I was cutting out, which doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know why I wouldn't be cutting out for you guys. That's very bizarre.
You're crystal clear for us, by the way.
I was just gonna say, with games like Hellblade and Fable, I'm anticipating needing to play them on PC.
So you would have to play them on PC.
I'm anticipating that. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yep.
know that especially Hellblade 2 is going to be pretty ambitious and high fidelity graphics, and so I'm anticipating needing to go to PC.
Listen, this is the thing. I'm kind of baffled. I'm saying this and I'm baffled. I do think that I'm going to end up picking up. I'm going to wait till next year. I'm one of these people. I like to think you're never future proofing yourself with a PC, but if I'm going to wait till the 50 at this point, Lono, there's no, I would recommend to you not to go spend money on a 40 card right now when you know you're literally 12 months away from that new card. At least get that one. It's not like the prices drop that much. So it's not like you say, well, Mooch, I'm going to do this now because if I do it now, it'll be cheaper. You're probably talking $300 in the difference in building a new rig. So, because if you have the same one that I have, basically, you need a new motherboard, you need a new CPU, you need a new card, GPU card, you need a whole kit, you need a whole kit and caboodle. So you might as well wait till next year. That's just my advice. I mean, don't let me stop you from having a good time. I got Warawana here, says Starfield is a first-party back AAA exclusive game. I enjoy it, but expected so much more from this game. Still so many bugs and lack of polish, in my opinion. Shout out to Wana. Snow Dragon says, anyone happy Starfield came out decently polished, unlike most AAA games in this era? Imagine how the discourse would be if the game was broken. Yeah, I will say that. The game's not right. The game's not. I mean, I have watched streams where the game just shut off. Shout out to Gaming with Persona. He streamed the game and it just shut off while he was playing it. He had to restart a mission. But I wouldn't sit here and say that there's been game-breaking bugs. I haven't seen that. Blessing on Xbox, what is it there? The Kind of Funny Xcast or whatever. I don't know if it was the Xcast show. It was Kind of Funny review of it. He said he a couple of his missions on PC were bugged. He had to jump on the Xbox, do them there, and then went back to playing the PC version. Yeah, but I do agree. I don't think anything was... Jujitsu 50, he says, no game that is not broken should get a 4. I would never want God of War or Spider-Man to get a 4. Starfield is a good game. Jujitsu 50, I agree with you.
There are parts of that game that are broken.
Like other parts. I mean, I have not.
Yeah,
I have
like
not
when I've had to like restart missions because an NPC I have to have dialogue with decides to levitate and go through the ceiling, and I can't find them. That's not.
That's Bethesda charm, sir.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Yeah, it's the Bethesda charm, but no, that's a broken game. Not necessarily. Yeah.
No, that's great. Shout out to God Emperor Sofa King. You know, and God Emperor Sofa King, you know, years ago, you were always hanging out with me. I'm glad you're back, by the way. I am very glad you're back. You need to hang out with me more. We got to talk offline, too. You know, we'll talk on Xbox. He says, meanwhile, PlayStation fanboys are calling for people's jobs because they're playing an Xbox PC exclusive like Alana. What's the panel's thought on that?
No, that's pretty bad. Like, regardless of your stance, like that's
really bad.
That's a really bad thing, and I kind of feel bad for her because
Yeah.
anytime she enjoys like anything that's related to the Xbox brand, a lot of PlayStation fanboys are going after her, and it's just dumb. It's like you can separate your job for playing like a different game from a different company. It makes no sense to like call for somebody's like livelihood and job. And it's like you see this with other executives that are playing other games. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's dumb and uncalled for.
Why I believe in birth control, the pull-out method. I just want to throw that out there because you get idiots that enter this world and say dumb shit like that. Not like that guy who was going after Alana Pierce. So
yeah,
sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
No, and I think the panel speaks. Listen, God Emperor Sofa King. It's ridiculous. But you're using a couple of bad eggs. Like, the same thing happens when she's playing a PlayStation game. Then the Xbox guys are like, well, I'm not going to take her word seriously because she works for PlayStation. So, of course, she can't win in any aspect. So, like, there's always that crazy part of the internet out there, God Emperor Sofa King. So, what I'm saying is like, it's just uncalled for and it's not necessary. First and foremost. Shout out to Lord Horg 99. He's rebuttaling against Red here. He says, you don't want to pay for online, and I don't want cheaters hacking and modders in my games. PC ain't for me. So
all right,
Lauren,
good. Let's just stay over there.
Yeah,
That's what
stay
I
over there.
want, man.
And
Dude,
by the way,
the gates are closed.
Yeah.
And by the way,
just stay there, bro. Just stay there.
you do have cheating on consoles too. There's a way to cheat. Actually, GameSpot sells GameStop sells a controller people use to cheat on Call of Duty. So I'll just leave that there.
I will say this too. Like, listen, man, you gotta pay for super expensive parts, and you gotta adjust settings, get all the traffic. Just stay over there, man. Just too much work, bro. Just stay over there.
Look, man, some people some people like eating at Golden Corral. You like eating at Ruth's Chris.
Yeah, there you go.
It is what it is.
Shout out to I gotta ask this question too. So this is one of the things, and Lono, I wonder if this has been one of the topics you've had on one of your shows and your discussions here. But you go back 10 years ago, we were all really complaining. We were really all looking out on podcasts for our own wallets, right? We were looking out for some dollars and cents. A lot of people now are paying this early access. I call it the early access debate. I want to hear what people have to say. Lono, when you actually think that people are paying more money out of pocket, like we'll use Starfield for example, but I don't think Starfield's actually a bad situation. BRAP has some instances. Yes, I've seen a couple of wacky things happen in Bethesda, like Red said and K said, then E said, that's the Bethesda charm. Fine, that's a joke, but we're paying $40, $30 more to play 5 days earlier than people, and most times these games are broken. So, Lono, I mean, what's kind of the discussion on this point here? I mean, are these are we ever going to stand up and say, as someone who has a platform, say that we should maybe not want Microsoft or PlayStation or anything? This early access stuff it's one of the worst money grabs of all time. It's literally just FOMO. It's FOMO. That's what they should call it. It's a $30 or $40 upcharge for FOMO. Your fear of missing out. Your friends are playing a weekend ahead of you. It's a real money grab, and a lot of times the games are still broken.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one because like it doesn't bother me that much, but at the same time, I know why people don't like it. Because from where I sit, there's plenty of ways this mets out. You early adopt into anything, you can spend more. There's early premieres of movies you can spend extra money to see. A lot of the times, the premium edition comes with other things, and like early access is kind of thrown in. This one doesn't bother me that bad, but I know I have a bias as a content creator. It's like, well, I'm gonna buy it anyway, and then I can get in early and make the videos and cover it soon. So, and you don't have to. Like, I don't know. I feel like because of YouTube and because of streams, early access actually kind of benefits the consumer in a weird way. Like, you can see the game well before its official release date and get a better approximation if it's good or not, or if it's broken or not. I don't know. Because this is the leisure market, I don't really mind a premium price for better or earlier or more. I think that people get a little, I don't know. I feel like we get really strange about video games. Like, we don't look at any other market and have an issue with this. So there's plenty of other markets do this kind of thing. So it's not necessarily something that you're sort of compelled to do. It's easy to avoid. I don't know. I think there are bigger problems in gaming than early access. I'm open to hearing people be upset about it and they don't like it and they call it FOMO. I mean, the one day people were saying that it was predatory, and I was like, I don't understand that. I feel that we need to throw those words around when they're appropriate, and if we throw them around too much, they're gonna lose their meaning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with Lono Mooch. And look, and there's clearly an addressable market that wants early access. And I'm one of those individuals. If I want something and I I can get early access, I'll pay for it. I'm also the guy that will pay, $100, $150 not to wait in line at an amusement park. Not everyone wants to do that, but I will because my time is valuable. So look, I think there's bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
I don't think it's predatory because you're not forced to do it. You don't have to do it. It's a choice.
I do want to say something when it comes to early access. I feel like we're like the definition is being changed of what early access was meant for.
Yeah.
So games like Hades and Baldur's Gate 3, right? And Divinity, right? Those games were like in early access. People gave the criticism throughout the years of the development and made a better game for it, right? So like a game like Starfield with the premium like edition to play the game early is a new marketing, ploy for like, this is an early access game. It's like you're able to play it a week early. That's not really early access. The other games I mentioned are early access games. And like, I'm not gonna go into whether or not it's right or wrong. Personally, I think that game should could have come out earlier around that time frame with the regular edition. It's just like now the terms are being changed of what early access is, and early access is just meant in terms of getting criticisms for the feedback of the game, and they're able to change like the development in terms of, oh, should we cut this out? Should we add this? Should the character act more like this? Like, here's the dialogue. Should we change the dialogue like options and all that? So it's a bit different.
I like how you said that, Red. You really kind of put things in perspective. We've changed the meaning of early access. It's completely. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. I'm more. The one thing Lono said that really resonates with me is I have this channel. I want to talk about the games. Sometimes I'm very fortunate. I say thank you all the time. I'm very fortunate. Sometimes I get codes from the developer, but even with my size of the size of this channel, I'm only able to get them at best usually a day before launch, 2 days before launch, or on launch. So I'm still very grateful for getting the review code, but everyone's reviews are already out there. When you have a situation right now where, yes, the reviews were still out there in this early access, but I could still get the game and play it and talk about it on 2 different Crossfires before it got, too overspoken, if that's even possible. It's tempting to put that extra money out so you can be part of the conversation. But I think that if I didn't have a channel and I didn't have a platform, I probably would just wait for release date. And I think that probably more than not do. So yeah, we've kind of come a long way with where we used to say that's. I remember people calling and crying foul about that. Didn't Gears of War do that a while ago? I don't remember if it was it Gears 4 or Gears 5.
So many games did that shit.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
The original Division had early access, right? But they're bundling it with. You usually have to buy the Ultimate Edition, right? So you're getting your DLCs, you're getting your season passes, and you're getting early access.
Correct.
So if you don't want it, don't log on Twitter for 3 days and get over it.
It's so true. It's so true. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte. He says, I've always had an Uber PC. The console's where my heart is. He says, I don't regret buying my Series X, but the lack of 60 FPS was killing me. So it's time for PC. And guys, Forte's a big Xbox fan. Shout out to Forte. I'm Forte. I'm right there with you, dude. Like, that's kind of, I still prefer console gaming because of the ease, the convenience. I don't know. I grew up that way. It's a very hard habit to break, but I'm slowly, especially in the Microsoft camp this generation, I'm starting to play more PC than I ever did. And that's something I never thought I would ever say. I do want to bring up a couple of topics here. I think this is kind of a big deal. Lono, you brought this up. You said something along the lines of Jedi Survivor. I know that you did multiple shows on it. Now the developers have come out and said they finally fixed it. So this is another situation. When will games release without major issues? And who's really to blame here, Lono? Can we sit here and blame? We can sit here and blame the devs all we want. But look at the record number of people that went out and bought this
Consumers.
game. Right? Exactly. Thank you, Red. Because people went out and bought this. And to be honest with you, we're kind of to blame as well. I think it's a 50-50 split here, because if the product doesn't work, we shouldn't be buying the game. And I guarantee you, if we put our foot down as consumers, the games wouldn't come out in that state. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that you said I did multiple shows on it. I actually just complained about it so much that you think that. I was so upset as a Star Wars fan. I loved Fallen Order, and in this particular instance, I placed full blame on Disney. Disney indicated they wanted a new Star Wars game every 6 months. I thought that cadence sounded insane, and the devs were committed to fixing it. So I don't think the devs wanted to release this before it was ready. And the director did that weird interview where he was like, we could have taken more time, but I knew we could get it in time. It's like, I don't know why you would say that. It was clearly not ready. And when I look at how Disney has handled a lot of things recently that are coming out, I think this was their goal. They're not in a great spot, and they wanted to get as much money as they could, and they knew this thing would sell well, and it did. And unfortunately, when you make a corporate level decision about game delivery cadence, I think you are ripe for problems. I have my own concerns about, Phil Spencer says, we're going to do 1 game a quarter at quality. I actually really hope they can do that, because that's an amazing value to Game Pass.
Yes.
That's an amazing value to the market. It sort of keeps things moving. There's kind of always something coming out. But I'm really, really worried about that cadence. And I know people in chat are bringing up that, like, Jedi Survivor got good scores. I want to maybe defend the review outlets a little bit. I think they all acknowledge there were some performance problems, but they were more than likely thinking the same thing they always think when they have early access. Oh, there'll be a day one patch that fixes, stutters and screen tearing. Like, I don't think anybody thought this thing was going to sit for months and run that poorly. So
Right.
I think that's another dilemma with the review meta, is that people get games early. They're not quite in the day one state, and the day one patches are necessary because the game needs to be quote unquote shippable before, and they keep working on it. So then there's obviously continued polish and optimization that happens. So I fully fault the Disney decision there. That's why Jedi Survivor launched the way that it did. And look at Armored Core. Crying out loud. Can we just go to that marketing strategy? Market the game for 6 months, show us real gameplay, and then just crush it. Like, what's this 5-year marketing, overpromise, underdeliver? Why are we still doing that when games are not doing that and they're massively successful? It just seems so unnecessary.
So my quick answer for you there, though, Lono, is because a few things. First of all, why do that mass marketing? And they knew their product wasn't going to be running out the gate. And number two, listen, you could put Star Wars on toilet paper. It sells like hotcakes. I mean, that's the thing. They were like, listen, they knew that wasn't going to, like you said, why would he say that comment? The reason he said that comment is the game wasn't ready. The game wasn't going to be ready. So they legitimately just advertised the hell out of it to get the hype up. I mean, listen, you put anything with Star Wars, I'm telling you, it just sells. I mean, look at even Disney Plus right now. They're absolutely like, how you want to put it? Copy and paste. They're just putting out so much Star Wars content on there. I know this latest one everyone likes, but that third season of The Mandalorian, I mean, did anybody stay awake for it? Like, I mean, it's pumped it out so fast. And I mean, they're doing it with games, and this game has, now I've talked to enough people behind the scenes. I heard this fix. I have it on PC. I never even started it, Lono. I didn't even start the game. But I mean,
I can't put it down. It's amazing Star Wars. It's great storytelling. I played it before the podcast tonight. I was thrilled to get to continue my journey with it because I loved Fallen Order. I will say this. I think we need to push for consumer protection at a console level. Like, we should be able to refund as easily as you can on Steam. We are not protected as consumers. That game wouldn't have come out if you could refund the way that we can on Steam, because they know they'd get taken to the cleaners. You'd play for an hour or two and be like, what is this nonsense? And you'd get your money back. And I think that consumer level protection needs to come to consoles sooner than later. It would really be a great barrier and a levy of protection against this kind of nonsense.
Across the board, even Xbox has a limit to how many refunds you can request, a year. They're pretty good up until you hit that limit. And PlayStation, good luck, man. You gotta, finesse a chat rep to get you a refund. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Eric, what do you think about this, though? I mean, do you think, honestly, you have to wait till I think this was patch 7. Like, so you have to wait till patch 7 to enjoy the game. And I bought it on, I think I have it on PC, I believe. I got it, and then I just didn't even, everyone said, do not play it. Do not play it. Now I'm being told, green light, play it. The problem is now I'm going to dedicate Starfield for the rest of a good chunk of September until the Cyberpunk DLC comes out. And I'll play that basically until we get to Spider-Man. And when Spider-Man comes out, I'm playing that solely. So, Jedi, even though patch 7's here, finally, it's probably going to be my holiday game to play.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because that was like after Fallen Order. That was like a game I was really into.
Yep.
And you start to see people talking about the performance issues and everything. And I think more and more, in particular, this generation, I'm not a team day one. I'm day one-ish.
Yeah.
Because we have way too many examples of, you want to be there day one, something's not right, and then the game you get later is infinitely better because it's patched and where it needs to be. So I kind of look at it in terms of game development. Really, the release date is a moving target. It's not really the day that they're releasing it. It's going to be probably a couple months later, and that's the real release.
If the game's not broken, the servers are broken. Look at Diablo, right? I mean, they played all the fucking betas and they were great, and then early access, and you can't get on for the whole day. So
Exactly. But again, this kind of goes back to, we definitely look at wanting to push it out. But again, this is another thing to where developers, they pay attention to social. They see what people are. Again, gamers that are banding together always want to go at each other. So if someone asks the question, "Hey, what's up with this performance thing? What's going on with this? I'm noticing this looks the preview. That looked a little off. Oh, you're crazy. This is going to be hype. This is going to be the bomb. This is going to be insane. And you're absolutely insane for bringing that up." And all this, just ridiculous stuff. And all games need patches. Giving them the excuse, go ahead and go with it.
Right.
So what do you expect? You're like, okay, we'll throw it out there. Sony does it. And Microsoft does it. I think the only one who's a little bit still holding to their standard is Nintendo at times.
Yeah.
They tend to be pretty stable when they release a game, except for that Pokemon, months ago. But anyway, no, gamers are completely to blame because instead of banding together, you battle each other.
People are still saying they're hearing botting in the audience, and I'm sorry, I don't know if they're talking about Lono because they're behind, or they're talking about Eric now. I have no idea, guys. If anything, you want to know something? We haven't said this in a while. We always blame Discord or we blame our own mics. Maybe YouTube's just having a bad night. I don't know what's going on. I really can't. All I can tell you is everybody on this side sounds crystal clear. So if it's not coming through, I deeply apologize. I'm very sorry. I try to make sure audio's always at an A+.
Yeah, I'm hearing everybody on the panel.
Does it sound like robotic? Because that's like
I went back and listened.
Yeah,
I went back and listened. It's like somebody was turning my volume down randomly. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, you're at 100% on my side, Lona. Everybody's at 100%. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. So I apologize if there's any bad audio out there, folks. I really, really do apologize for that. Hopefully it gets better and better. I got a super chat here.
Said Lomo not sound fine now. Must be going in and out.
Oh, he said Chad Stud said Lono is great. It's E, so it was Eric. I don't know.
Okay.
Delta 169 says Mooch, go yell at the storm of yours. Actually, believe it or not, it's calmed down. Every once in a while, I get a rumble of thunder, but I mean everything else seems to be fine. Lone Wolf, this is when we were talking about the PC and building a PC over. He said enjoy those broken PC ports. So shout out to Lone Wolf. God Emperor Sofa King. I'm saying shout out to you. You put two names of things I don't know and who they are I don't know, so I'm not going to shout those people out, but I'll just say I'm going to shout you out. God Emperor Sofa King, I'm shouting you out. Thank you for those super chats. But yeah, I want to go over to and again, time is short with a couple of my panel members. I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch too, and I have to bring it up because people are saying that this is going to be finally what a lot of gamers have been asking for. This is going to be a device they're saying that they've tried behind closed doors that has the performance capabilities of close to a PS5. I am having a really, really hard time making this make sense.
I would say temper expectations.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no one really knows. Like, it's rumors and whatnot. It's also a handheld device, right? Most likely. So it's just like, and using DLSS. So it's like, we don't really know. It's just rumors and speculations at the end of the day. I say go in with low expectations so you'll never be disappointed.
Red, I thought a reasonable expectation here was going to be more along the lines of having more of a PS4, Xbox One performance. That I can wrap my mind around.
Yeah, I looked into this, and what it is that it's going to be around PS4 power.
Okay.
But with DLSS, it will be able to sort of emulate what you see on a PS5. It's not going to be equal to PS5 in power. And so I looked into DLSS with what it did specifically to Death Stranding. Death Stranding, what I read, was hitting like 80 FPS on 4K, and this was on a 2060 card. So this is like the bottom of the series, weakest card. They were getting insane performance even on like laptops. And so what we're hearing from people that are in the know is that the chip inside of this thing, the video aspect, harnessing DLSS is actually going to be able to bump it up in performance so much
Okay.
that to me, The crazy thing would be is that if Nintendo can start marketing on power again, or at the very least marketing a little bit on performance, I think they're going to have to. Like, how do you pit this against the Switch, especially if you call it the Switch 2? Like, how do you promote it if you don't promote the fact that it looks and runs better? I mean, we're hearing it was shown at Gamescom. It was running the Matrix demo. What we're hearing is very promising, and DLSS is just light years ahead of FSR. So this could put Nintendo into a very good position. And then we know developers love to harness DLSS because they can get a lot more out of their game on weaker hardware.
So Nintendo's currently, through this generation, explored a lot more ventures with third party, right? We were just talking about that. So, but Lono, my only concern with everything you're saying is the more Nintendo keeps putting that tech, which, by the way, I encourage it. I'm not going to not buy it. I've always had every Nintendo system since Nintendo was conceived. This looks like it could be a $500 item. They're going to go from the cheapest to maybe one of the most expensive, or at least $400, right? They're going to compete. I don't see how you're putting all this into this handheld. You see the other handheld markets, right? You've got what's going on with the ROG Ally. That's $700. The cheapest Steam Deck is $400. Most people are buying the 5 or 6, right? So if in fact all of this is going to be put into the new Nintendo handheld, are we looking at a $400 or $500 price tag? And does that affect the mass Nintendo audience? Because people bought Nintendo Switches because they were $299.
Yeah, I mean, the main way they're probably going to keep the price down is it's going to be an LCD and not an OLED. And so Sharp was doing a presentation earnings call, and I guess they accidentally let that out that they were doing LCD for a new console. Well, there's only one new console that would LCD. I don't know how much an LCD versus an OLED would keep price down.
Yeah,
but I think it would struggle if it's above 350. I could see it going for 350. I think as soon as you hit 400, your current, I think they have like 129 million Switches in circulation.
Oof.
I think getting those people to bump up would be pretty easy if, oh, hey, that's about what I spent on the last Switch, but look at the performance. I'm going to get, the rumor was like, Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be a launch title. It's looking like a PS5 game, and backwards compatibility is apparently a part of this. But yeah, price point I think would be tough because adoption rate is so high for the Switch. 30 million Switches were sold in Japan alone out of 125 million. Just think about the adoption rate. That's just insane.
Yeah, the back compat thing was something that, and these were rumors, by the way. Everybody take this with a grain of salt, please. But I thought that we heard that even the back compat thing was questionable. And then now I have an OLED. I went and upgraded. I took my original one. I traded it in. And by the time I was done with the trading, it was very little money out of pocket. But I got the OLED. And I think that Red would say this on the show back when we were first talking about this a while ago, when the rumors first came out, to go from an OLED back to an LCD. And like you said, now if Sharp has that technology and things are better, I stand corrected. But it is tough to go from that OLED. That OLED right now is beautiful. And then to go back to an LCD, if it doesn't hold up, a lot of people may feel like I'm paying more and it's a downgrade. I don't know. It depends on the consumer. Nintendo's audience is a whole different ball of wax. I can't really speak to it. But I mean, is this something that the Switch 2, or are you in line day one?
Oh yeah, I'll be there. Made that performance bump. Hopefully, backwards compatible library better. There.
Yeah,
like you said, I'm a Nintendo fan. They got me.
Yeah, me too. It's funny. So shame on me. Super Mario Brothers Wonder. I didn't even bring that up. I mean, and I'm not going to do a whole segment on it, but I said these are the games I'm going to be playing. I always take the Nintendo games and kind of make room for them, especially with the family, things like that. But definitely going to be playing Mario Wonder. I mean, I don't. Yeah. Anybody on the panel not planning to get it? I don't see why you wouldn't.
Oh,
no,
definitely
picking it. Definitely.
Yeah. I know. And on backwards compatibility, there was a call where somebody at a pretty high level assured that the account transition to the new device would be. So I think they're already laying the groundwork that you're going to be able to bring your stuff with you.
Well, that's good because I know people were out that
jank now. So
no, yeah. So I was just looking at the Super. I know I'm running out of time here. I have K-Med that's on a very strict time. Lono as well.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay, K. Lono, I know as well. I don't have you for very long either. Just to get a quick round in here, I'll ask you both first. Are either of you playing Baldur's Gate 3 at all or dabbling in it?
Yeah, go ahead, Lano. You first, man.
I'm actually touching it for the first time tonight. My wife and I are going to try it out. We're going to test it out, create some characters, split screen it up, and see. I don't play these types of games, so I'm 100% going in totally like, okay, win me over. This game is as good as everybody says. It's winning awards. It's the game of the year front runner. We'll see if it can't turn me into somebody that likes turn based.
Well, that's interesting.
That's funny.
Go ahead, Kay.
I'm in the same boat too. Sorry. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have not picked it up. I've held out. I actually loaded up Divinity Original Sin 2 and dicked around with that, and I'm like, man, I don't like this type of game. Will I pick it up? Probably. Just because I can't ignore this, the reception it's getting, honestly. And I've heard so many people just say, I've never touched a CRPG and I'm in love with it. So I probably will. I mean, after my honeymoon with Starfield lets up probably this weekend, maybe next weekend, I'll pick it up probably on the PlayStation, honestly, and see how it plays and see how it runs and see if it sucks me in and makes me fall in love with it, because that's what I keep seeing all over my timeline.
The problem is there's just not enough sand in the hourglass. You know what I mean? I mean, you're talking.
No, there isn't.
Right? Everyone's saying, "Oh, I mean, a lot of people." And shout out to Abontis. We had Abontis on the show last week. Outstanding channel. Go over and check him out. But he had over 80 hours, or and BRAP, you can correct me. I think it was 80 or 100 hours he put into Starfield. And so this, by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 is that's no slouch. It's also going to ask probably 80 hours of your time. So let's just say you were interested, like
more
Kay
than
said.
that.
More than that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I put it in about like 70.
I was gonna go to you next. I know you're playing it. Red, I mean, this is this basically, I mean, what everyone's saying is Baldur's Gate 3 now being in air quotes a timed exclusive because of the situation. How impactful is this for PlayStation fans that don't have an Xbox? And Xbox has Starfield right now.
I mean, like, it was never gonna be an exclusive, right? It was just a policy that Xbox had,
right,
in terms of parity, which should have never happened. But now it's like a double-edged sword that they had to like allow Baldur's Gate to go on their system, which is the correct decision. Now gives leeway to other developers to kind of bargain for, like, the Series S doesn't get a certain feature from the game that a Series X gets. But like at the end of the day, like what I've played is a very, like, a really, really good game. Like so far, like I'm in Act 3, probably my game of the year before was like Final Fantasy 16. Now it's Baldur's Gate 3.
Wow.
Baldur's Gate 3 is like probably the best RPG I've played in quite some time, and definitely gives me like Dragon Age Origins vibes, and like the dialogue, it actually has meaning in terms of your choices have meaning. You could just like straight up. I did co-op with I think it was Addict and Death Singer, and then we were in like this druid camp, and we decided just to kill all the druids in it, and like that happened, and it was like insane to see like what you can do in that game in terms of the player freedom and choice in that game. It's like insane, and the story is really good, as well as like the dialogue options and the choices, and the characters are very well written, and Larian's always had a strong like aspect to that in terms of all their games. And it definitely is a huge strong contender. And like overall, like I said, like some people are not going to like it because it's turn-based. Overall, I don't care. I very much enjoyed the combat, as well as like creating certain builds and different subclasses within the game. Gives you a lot of like flexibility with all the characters that you can get. Or dude, like there could be like characters that you don't like as a companion and kick them out or kill them. And like it's like so many different freedoms, as well as like the romance options too. So it's like overall such a really, really good game that I'm not shocked that a lot of people are like venturing out and playing it.
And Lono, I know you're going to be playing it on PS5. You're going to be doing, I believe you said PS5, and you're going to be doing a split screen with the missus. I think that when it comes down to it, I mean, I'm actually glad you're doing that, because you're actually showing people that people do use split screen, especially in an instance like this. I'm actually really I'm going to check it out. I'll check it out afterwards. But I'm saying I want to check out what your stream is, because to be honest with you, Lono, I'm curious about the performance on something like this with split screen. It seems very, very intensive for for PS5 to be able to handle that. I'm worried that it may not. I'm worried, but you're going to give it a grade on this, I think, one way or the other. You think it'll live up to the split screen hype?
Well, I'm hearing split screen is 30 FPS, so we do have two PS5s because I wanted to play Returnal with my wife. Okay. So we may end up, if we like the game, we will probably end up actually playing separately on two different televisions.
Okay.
Because I can't stand 30 FPS. And from where I sit on the whole, is it a timed exclusive? It's not a timed exclusive. It's a late arrival. Like, I think that's
Right.
the new term we probably have to use here, and I think that's something Xbox fans should be frustrated by. Like, the same thing is happening with Lord of the Rings: Mines of Moria.
Yeah.
You have to start asking the question, like, okay, sure, it's not a timed exclusive, but it's a late arrival. Why are you getting it later? Like, that I think is a valid question as a gamer,
Yep.
especially at some level. It's kind of worse. It's like nobody paid for this to be timed exclusive, but one platform's getting it first. And I if I only owned an Xbox, I would be really curious as to what's going on if more and more titles keep running into this problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a timed exclusive. It's a late arrival. I think that's a worrisome trend if it can.
No, and Lono, I'll go ahead and give you an outro right here because I know you said a 9 o'clock hard stop here, so I do want to let you be on time for your audience as well. Lono, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. Thank you. I tried to do a bit of a speed round. We actually tackled quite a few topics tonight. Lono, thanks for being here again. I want to say outstanding work on your channel. Everybody knows to go over and check out Reforge Gaming. Everybody knows how great it is. You put a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. Love how you do a great monologue, and then you go into the audience, and then after that, sometimes you bring in that other gentleman. I believe his name is it Mike? You'll bring him in, and you guys do a great back and forth on topics. And you guys had a real good one today because he was not jiving with you on the Starfield stuff for a bit there. He was enjoying it. You're like, really? So I thought it was a great back and forth. But Lono, let people know where they can find you, and I appreciate you being here tonight. Look forward to your next return to CrossFire.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate being here. The chat was really, really fun tonight. Even the back and forth and disagreement. Always love being on here with BRAP. It was good to meet E and KMed and Red Hood officially. Check me out, Reforge Gaming. And that discussion today I thought was just a good showcase of someone who is loving Starfield and just a big Bethesda fan. And I'm more not there. Like, I'm warming to it. I actually, if people want to see, I gave Starfield a second chance. There's a thumbnail that says second, I think it says second chance or something. And it's literally a stream where the game clicks for me. Like, I'm 10 or 12 hours in, and I'm like, okay, I want to finish this story now. So I thought that was a good showcase of, if you kind of drop some of your expectation and play it as it's, designed, it's more like Fallout in space. I do think there's a good and enjoyable game there, even if it's not necessarily, up where some of us were hoping it would land. So appreciate being on tonight, and have a great rest of the night, guys.
Appreciate it, Lono. Thanks again for being here. I got just a couple quick speed runs. K-Med, I know I have. Do I have you for at least 10 minutes? It looks like.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, K-Med, I am a mooch, and I will take every
you're
minute
good,
I
man.
can get. So that's just how we operate here on Crossfire. No, but I did want to kind of stick on the subject here on Baldur's Gate. And Red, thanks for doing what you said there as far as giving us a little insight. K-Med, the reason I'm going to you with this is Red really kind of set something up for me to spike the volleyball. I got to do it. Okay, you've been so pro in a very positive way too, not in an annoying way, on Starfield. When you hear Red describe Baldur's Gate 3, the characters, the design, the writing, the choices, the impact, right? Everything he just said. And then while he was doing that, I was thinking Starfield in my head, and I'm thinking, okay, the writing's not that good. I don't think the impact had that much to it. Okay. I was like, maybe I picked the wrong game to play at this point in time. Okay, when you hear that, do you think that takes a little bit away from Starfield for you, or no? These are two different games, and
they're both RPGs, right? But they're very different.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that a turn-based game has as much of a broad appeal as something like Starfield. People are just more comfortable with first-person shooters in general, right? And this blends into that, right? I mean, all the promos you're seeing, guns and first person, and anybody that plays a Bethesda game in third person, I don't know who you are, all three of you, but I feel like that is definitely something that people look at and go, ugh, and it throws them off a little bit. That, to its credit, it's even more amazing that it's scoring the way it's scoring, because it is turn-based and turn-based, but also Western, right? I mean, it's breaking all sorts of molds, and I think it's going to be an incredible game. And I'm not fully convinced that I'm not going to like it. So I will be playing it, but I don't know that it necessarily takes anything away or takes the thunder away from Starfield. I don't know that they're in competing segments either, especially when you can't even play one on Xbox right now. So
Good point.
you know, I think the disparity is enough that they're not butting heads. One's a paid one, which you know what, I just a little bit off tangent here. Why are PS Plus premium members not getting a free trial of Baldur's Gate? Like, I think that would have been huge to
Great
get
point.
people in,
Yes.
right? Like a 2-hour free trial
Yeah.
for a game like that. I do 2 hours, and just to get them in, get them to create a character, get that feel, get that
Get
backstory,
immersed
maybe,
into the
and
world.
suck them in.
Yeah, that's a great point. People are paying no pun intended, a premium
Yeah.
price for that service. And they talked about having trials and demos. That's one, especially because it's only on PlayStation currently.
I looked for it, man.
No.
The other night, I
Yeah.
totally looked for it because I'm like, I need something that's gonna be like, you got to buy this game,
Right.
and that would be so valuable. It just did it. I just did it with Fort Solis, and I played an hour, and then I picked it up because I'm like, I need to, you know, finish the story eventually. I mean, Starfield came out and kind of robbed my time, but yeah, man, I think they're both, you know, in different. I don't know that the same. I think the same people will play, but that Venn diagram isn't as, you know, isn't as overlapping as you'd think. You know, I definitely think that the majority of people that would play Starfield probably aren't interested in Baldur's Gate, and vice versa. That's just me spitballing, you know, what I see.
So, you know, and Kay, I'm glad you said that. Those are all outstanding points. J-Boy72, he says, Mooch, I watched about 5 YouTube tutorials for beginners for Baldur's Gate 3. Still don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know, Red, I got to ask you. You know, I'm hearing Jay in the chat there. And shout out to Julian Johnson, by the way. Great to have Julian here, man. Red, what do you think? I mean, is this something... Okay, I've never played a Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played an RPG of that depth.
Yeah, it's D&D. It's like tabletop, basically.
So is someone like me, what's your take? Is someone like me or Jay in the chat who's saying this, are we going to enjoy this game, or is it a game that I probably, it could get frustrating, may not want to put that much time into it? I mean, what would you say to a novice D&D Baldur's Gate customer?
It depends. Like I said, like it depends if you want to get into like that role playing experience, right? To like, oh, let me like add points to strength or charisma, or let me, you know, play a rogue or a barbarian, or do cross mixed class. Like it's like you could do whatever you want in the game.
Yeah.
It's like I would say, yeah, it's kind of hardcore, but it's up to you. Like I would do my due diligence research on what you may find interesting about the game. Like, I'm not gonna say that like no game is for everybody. I feel like that should be pretty well known. But I feel like if you do your due diligence in terms of research and figure out what games you like and what games you don't, and see what Baldur's Gate has to offer, you'll come to a conclusion whether or not you'll find that interesting. It's like there's even rules in terms of perception or arcane and stuff like that when you're like picking up certain items or like having a conversation, and then you'll like have like scholar knowledge and know like the narrator will tell you what that scholar knowledge that you rolled, like what that is about. And it's like cool that they do that because it's so hardcore D&D.
Yeah.
That a lot of people love that on PC, and that's why you see like a lot of people kind of gravitate towards that. But that, like I said, it's like a lot of hardcore elements that a lot of people like enjoy. It's very similar to a situation that Elden Ring kind of had, where it was very hardcore game in terms of difficulty and not trying to hold your hand, but allow you to have player choice and player freedom.
So first of all, I want to say shout out to Eric Jackson. Eric, you, BRAP, I'll give you the mic in a second. But Eric, I want to say thank you for being here. He said he has to go. Eric, really, really appreciate your time, man. I know you got a lot going on, and it's just a privilege to have you on the show. So Eric, let people know where they can find you, and of course, you know, we'll be talking in the DMs about games in about, you know, probably about tomorrow.
Absolutely. No, thanks again for having me. Great panel. Always love talking to level-headed gamers, guys. You know, think critically and can ask questions without losing their damn minds. You know? So no, again, thanks for having me, man.
Eric,
appreciate it, chat, everybody.
Always appreciate you, Eric. Always appreciate you being here, Eric. Thank you so much, man. I know I kept you here a little after the 9 o'clock mark. Thanks,
no, it's all good. Something. I gotta go check something out.
Not a problem, me.
All going crazy. So.
All right, I'll reach out tomorrow, buddy. Be good. I appreciate it.
Got it. Catch you guys later.
Thanks.
I did want to mention this, like when there was somebody saying he's selling Baldur's Gate 3 terribly. The question is, do you want to play a game that allows you to interact with a world more than you ever have? I'm pretty sure, like me saying you have the player choice and player freedom to do kind of whatever you want is pretty self-explanatory for me, not to like argue like, oh my gosh, you can like put boxes or jump to this area or jump to that area or get across a city by using like a spell to even get you a greater height of a jump. It's pretty self-explanatory for me, like saying you have a lot of player choice or freedom to do what you want and to mix match classes and all that. Pretty sure I've been pretty self-explanatory with that.
No, and Red, I have to, and BRAP, I want to ask you a question too, but I do. K-Med also has an engagement, and remember,
I do.
K's
need
on
to get
another.
out of here.
He's on another time zone. So for K, what is it? It's 6:15 over in your world.
Yeah, it's 6:15, and I had a dinner plan, so I gotta make the wife happy.
Yeah, he still has dinner. He still has night in a movie. Where us in New York, we're gonna have a bourbon after this and call it a night. K,
exactly.
K, thanks for being here, buddy. Honestly, I really enjoyed your time on the show.
No, thank you guys. I enjoyed everybody.
Looking forward to having you back on the show. Let people know where they can find you. And of course, honestly, Kay, let's talk about schedules and see when we get you back on the show.
Yeah, for sure. I'm solely on Twitter right now, K__MED. Follow me for some shitty gaming takes and some conversation.
Great to have you, Kay. Thank you so much, buddy. And
all right, guys. Hey,
it.
thank you so much, everybody, for having me on. I appreciate you guys. You guys all have a good night and a good weekend.
You enjoy the night, Kay. Thank you.
Man.
All right, brother.
Very funny here. Red, while you were going through that, by the way, outstanding description. JBoy72, he goes, Mooch, I don't know. I still don't know what the hell he's talking about. So apparently, and he's the one that bought the game. Red, it's clearly a game. And BRAP, you're playing it too.
Yeah.
BRAP, what do you say to somebody who, and I'm only using Starfield as an example. This is not, I'm using it only as a reference. Somebody who's enjoying Starfield right now, and that's an RPG, is it something you could just put Starfield down and start Baldur's Gate 3?
Look, Baldur's Gate 3 is a classic CRPG. I think like Red said, it uses the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. It is a like when you consider like role-playing games, like traditional role-playing games, like how I grew up playing RPGs, and I also dabbled in D&D, the tabletop game. This is a true like RPG. Like this is why I love it so much, because it harkens back to my experiences playing RPGs, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and then playing D&D. Where you have a tremendous amount of player providence, like what Red was describing, just ability to interact, do things with the world, and have freedom of choice, but also you have the ability to really customize your character through classes, subclasses, swapping out different and I'm still learning it. I'm like 40 or 50 hours in. I'm still learning some of the some of the leveling up skills that you get. Like it's a really deep RPG. So absolutely there's a learning curve to it. And I said this on BRAP a couple weeks ago. I thought that this is going to be a game that you either love or hate, because I think the people that hate it are going to be turned off by the fact that it's a very deep RPG that requires you to do a little bit of homework and to understand the different player attributes, or class attributes and skills. And when you level up, the different skills that you can level up, or different spells or attacks and things like that. I mean, it's a very deep RPG. And that's why I love it, because I feel like, coming from my experiences, and I think about old school BioWare, and I think about the old CRPGs from back in the days. This is kind of like that pen and pad RPG. And again, this is because I like those experiences. This game speaks to me. And I'm not as intimidated by the learning curve. But there is definitely a learning curve. And the game, and I think Red mentioned this, the dialogue and the writing And so part of my complaint with Starfield is I'm coming off Baldur's Gate 3, and the dialogue and the dialogue choices are so much better in Baldur's Gate 3 than Starfield. Like I feel like with the dialogue choices and how the characters are portrayed, each character has very unique personality traits. The dialogue with them is very different. And they and the story is just, there's a very deep story there. There's deep lore there, the D world.
Yeah.
But with the choices, I feel like there's more impact to the choices you make in Baldur's Gate 3 compared to Starfield. Like, and sometimes there's what I would say are like obvious good moral choices in Baldur's Gate 3 don't turn out to be those choices you thought that they were going to be.
Okay.
And what's unique about that is that when I remember playing Dungeons and Dragons, like the tabletop version, like, and I remember like a dungeon master would give you an option. It's very black and white. There's a lot of grays here with Baldur's Gate, and so they knocked it out of the park with their adaptation of rules of Dungeons and Dragons and the presentation of D&D in this game. And it really is that the turn-based combat. I love it because there are instances where you need to figure out and really think about the moves that you're making, the spells that you're using, where you're positioning your character, the NPCs that are following you, or which NPCs you should bring into a specific mission or engagement. You also need to figure out how to utilize the environment to your advantage.
Yeah.
And I found that the AI is pretty smart about that at times, and utilizing the environment to their advantage. So it's very strategic in that regard.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. You and Red have done an outstanding job actually selling the game, BRAP. I mean, the thing about it is, again, I don't even know how you're doing it, because I don't know how you're playing Baldur's Gate 3 and playing Starfield.
I stopped playing Baldur's Gate 3, but there are times when I'm playing Starfield that I'm pulling out my hair. And again, I just want to throw that out there. Starfield's a good game, but I'm coming off of Baldur's Gate 3, so there's a little bit of that.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 kind of I think it kind of ruined your Starfield experience a little bit.
It's just that, again, I understand they're different type of RPG, but again, if you're looking for if you like that, like if you like kind of that strategy and turn-based combat, and being able to kind of just take a step back and figure out, where you're going to move your characters. The dice roll, the die rolls are just fantastic, by the way, because I think, like Red Hood said, like there's certain die rolls that you get for, did you say perception was one of them? I don't remember. Red Hood.
So it's like perception, like arcane and stuff like that, like just to see certain items and whatnot, and then you could pick up said items or like read it or understand it.
And even like if certain, I think like you'll get like saves, like roll saves if like enemies are using like spells against you or something,
or
some
acid,
kind of buff.
or you can like survive the acid hit or something like that. But like another cool thing, it's like you could just like go into a camp, pretend to be their best friend, and just backstab them. I think it's like awesome to do.
Oh yeah, I did that with what was it? Not the ogres, but what do they call
them? The goblin camp.
The goblin camp. Yeah, that was great. They're like, and the goblins are like, they have these like really like funny British accents. But yeah, I backstabbed them and then called in the ogres for a favor, which was really cool. But there's some really cool dialogue choices that carry a lot of weight. And that's the one thing that I really enjoy about this game. Is just really well written, by the way. The voice acting is great. The depth of the characters are really great. It's Mooch, I'm telling you, it is probably one of the best games I've played in a very long time.
Well, Wild Wolf just said it's like an XCOM game. That's not necessarily true, is it?
Well, yeah, I could see why he would say that with the RTS elements, like when you are like doing the turn-based combat.
Yeah,
there's those elements of the like RTS feature, like RTS combat. So I can see that, but it's not.
But one's an RTS and one's a RPG.
Exactly. Yeah,
like XCOM would be what something like I don't really play RTSs like that, but what Halo Wars or whatever.
Age of
Halo
Empires.
Wars, yeah, or yeah,
Something
Age
like
of
that.
Empires, yeah.
Yeah, but I could see why you would think that, because like the player movement and the strategy you have to have, but it's not it's not an RTS. It's definitely it's a CRPG. It's a role playing game that's based in the D&D world. So
Shout out to Pig Roach. I don't know if you guys are going to agree with him here. He says, then should people on PlayStation 5 feel, since it's a PC game? Then he says, Goodbye Volcano High is better than Baldur's Gate 3. It's deep. So I don't, I know some people
what
that
he
are,
was doing.
what's he doing, Red? Fill us in, will you?
I feel like people would understand it. I don't know. It's
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. But I still want to say, shout out to Pig Roach. Thank you for the super chat. Guys, I do want to say this. I wish PlayStation would bring game gifting. How about that? If anyone from PlayStation is listening, work that into your next update, will you? You know, I mean, all us mooches out there, there's a lot of mooches out there, okay? We have no game gifting on PlayStation. There's nothing out there. So it's a great feature on Xbox. Steam has it. My God, Steam is almost annoying with it. You know, Xbox offers it, but it's there if you want to use it. Steam, I mean, am I the only one getting this BRAP and red? I go to buy a game on Steam, and it always asks, is this for you or is it a gift?
yeah, that's great.
I mean,
they do
that's
that.
like, that's a every time you go to get yourself a burger, even if you go to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, anywhere you go, and you go up and get your tray, and before you pick it up, the other person's holding it on the other side of the counter, like, is this for you or someone else? First of all, it's 99% of the time for me. Why the hell would you ask me that every time? But they do.
And Mooch, speaking of Steam, I got to say the Steam user reviews tend to be pretty. Like we're talking about Metacritic user reviews being like ass. These Steam user reviews are actually pretty. I think pretty reliable.
They're reliable and on point. And what is the Baldur's Gate 3 Steam review? User review. Probably.
I would have to check.
90
Yeah,
plus,
I have to
right?
check.
I'm on Steam right now. It's
Desmazy in the chat's telling me, Mooch, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. Desmazy, I'll look for it under the tree. I'll be like, oh, look, everybody. This one's from Desmazy.
And Mooch, I'm not someone that likes doing side missions in games.
Right.
I chomp at the bit to do side missions. They're that good.
I'll tell you, I'm only 11 hours into Starfield, but I've been doing only the Vanguard missions and side quests. I haven't even done, I think I did one main quest with Sarah, and I think it was still very early on. I've just been wandering around, and anytime somebody's like, hey, do you mind doing this? Or, hey, you're so-and-so, can you? I'm like, yeah, sure, of course I'll do it. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Captain Ply said on PS5 console.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate is hard to menu manage, other than it's the same on, the game's pretty much the same on PC. I don't disagree with him. Like mouse and keyboard to navigate through the menu is definitely better on PC. Although I have been using controllers for Baldur's Gate on PC, and I've figured it out, but it's definitely easier, a little more streamlined to do mouse keyboard, navigate through the menus and stuff.
Yeah, Red,
I
what's
mean,
it
you
saying?
can tell
Red?
it's like developed first and foremost on PC. So
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
What's the review score on Steam, Red? You were looking it up, I
I'm
thought?
trying
Did you
to
see it?
see because I don't really look this stuff up in terms of it. I just see like overwhelming positive. I don't know, like
Mooch, I'm
That's
actually
what
60
means.
hours into Baldur's Gate.
Jeez, BRAP.
Yeah, I
a
forgot,
good
dude.
game.
I was
So,
literally.
I didn't talk
I
about
was
it.
playing.
I didn't talk about it tonight. So let me ask BRAP, you and Red here. So like the reason I'm leaning towards probably if around the holidays, not now, around the holidays, especially if there's a sale, I'll pick up Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation. I know we're not going to get into it now. We're well past 9 o'clock, but I did listen, and I said I'm going to do a review on it, and I'm also going to, if I don't like it, I'm going to send it back. It's easy, very simple. I don't like it, it goes back. But I'm very excited for like the PlayStation Portal. That's a game that I wouldn't mind chomping away at the bit at while I'm watching like some football or whatever, and I got the Portal in my hand, and I'm playing some BG3. I mean, is that something, Red? Is that something that would hold? Does that make sense or no?
Yeah. So right now for Baldur's Gate 3, just looking at all reviews, it's at 95%.
Yeah, Ryan Landis just said
270,644 user reviews, 95% positive. Recent reviews, 96% of 151,467 user reviews.
That's pretty damn positive. I mean, but now, Red, my question to you is, can I play this? Do you think I can enjoy this game on like a maybe not for like full-time playing, but part-time playing on the portal?
I mean, I have no idea whether or not. I mean, it's a turn-based game, so like I don't
That's
see
why
why
I thought
not.
That's why I thought it would be a decent game.
I'd rather personally play it on a Steam Deck, you know.
Okay, are you playing it on your Steam Deck?
I've only played like Divinity on the Steam Deck, but I've not tried Baldur's Gate 3. I know Alex has done a port review
Yeah.
of Baldur's
Oh, he
Gate
did?
3
Okay.
of on PC as well as I believe the Steam Deck.
I watched
So-
Alex's shout out to, oh no, it's Alex. I did watch his latest on the Starfield. I like how he said maybe. So I mean, it does run on the deck, but it's not Starfield on the deck it's not great.
Yeah. You know, Mooch,
It's not
if
great.
you're kind of on the fence about Baldur's Gate 3,
Yeah.
then I would recommend you watching like a Let's Play.
Maybe that's a
From
good
a
way to
YouTube
just to see. Because I've never
and
played
just-
a game like that. I've never played a game.
Yeah.
It's very.
and kind of see.
You and Red are doing a really good job of selling it.
Oh, I mean, I look, I'm telling you, Mooch, this is my game of the year. Like I've played like all the big releases here. Like I'm coming off of Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, Tears of the Kingdom, which is phenomenal. What else? Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16. Those are some of the most like highly rated games of 2023, and they don't even come close to Baldur's Gate 3.
So what am I missing?
I
in
was
the-
gonna mention
Go ahead.
Mooch. I think they're trying to do cross-play for co-op. I could be wrong, but I swear I saw something like that. For
Oh, that would
Baldur's
be
Gate 3
great.
co-op.
Yeah.
That would be really great. So shout out to Pig Roach and Astro Cyborg. They're just putting a bunch of feet up. What am I missing?
It's Alex.
Oh, is it
who's,
Alex? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, he's a he's a feet guy.
Okay. I watch a good amount of Alex, but I don't.
No,
I don't
no
know.
king shaming here.
Right.
No
No.
king shaming.
No. Guys, I want to say outstanding show tonight. I want to thank BRAP. I want to thank Red. I know these guys got games, family, friends, things to do over the weekend. I want to say thanks to this great chat. Chat, there's 300. We had over 600 people here tonight, guys. There's still 380 here now. Please hit the like button before you guys do leave. It really means the world to me. If you do want to consider, please hit the subscribe button. Your name will come up in lights. If you want to join the channel, that means even more. Maybe Mooch can actually go and grab a Baldur's Gate 3 game. Nonetheless, I want to say thanks to everybody. We had an outstanding panel. We did some great outros for the folks that had to leave early, but I want to say, Red, thank you so much for being here. I know that you had some certain things going on before the show as well. So you said, Mooch, I'm going to be a little late. You were not late at all, buddy. Anybody who's here within 10 to 15 minutes of start time, you're right on time. So, Red, always great to get your take on gaming. Love what you do in the community. Let everybody know where they can find you. And, of course, Red, we'll talk through the DMs and we'll get you back on the show real quick.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Good show. Shout out to everybody listening, and make sure to hit that like button. You guys can find me at RedHood240 on X or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call that, as well as Twitch at RedHood420. We'll be streaming on Monday, so around maybe 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, Overlevel Podcast went through a reboot. We did our first episode on Big Cloud's channel and did pretty good in terms of views. And we will be doing our second episode at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday.
Nice.
So look forward to that. And YouTube, I got no clue because I'm like going back to streaming. So that's going to be somehow like I'll figure out in terms of what videos I'm going to make and stuff. I have like some notes on what I may do, but I just got to like get back to streaming and then figure out when I want to create these videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the opinions. And like I said, PC gaming is closed for now. And don't come here.
Shout out to Red, man. Red, great to have you on the show, buddy. Thank you. I see Impatient Fire, J-Boy72. Julian Johnson saw a great tweet. Shout out to K-Med for not embarrassing the crumb site. Shout out to Julian Johnson. Great to have him here. BRAP, honestly, listen, this was a treat. This is a treat. BRAP says to me 2 days ago, hey, dude, probably can't make the show. Got a big thing going on with the family. I'm not going to be able to make it. But it was an outside event. Then he writes me, he goes, hey, there's a chance if it rains. I said, well, it's raining like crazy up here. Not that means it's happening down there. But nonetheless, BRAP, listen, I'll go ahead and say thank God for the rain. Great to have BRAP on the show as always. Let them know where they can find you, and thanks for being here tonight, BRAP.
Yeah, no, great show as always. Happy I could make it, and great panel as well, Mooch.
Oh, it really was
Great
fun, man.
panel.
This was one. This is one where I go back and listen to it again. It's just great.
Yeah.
Great panel.
Yeah. I mean, the 2.5 hours went by fast, like really fast.
It did.
That's how you know you're having a great show. So yeah, give me a follow on X, formerly known as Twitter, _podcast, and then you can find me on Basement Radio Arcade Podcast live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. So yeah, come check us out. Thank you again, Mooch.
Absolutely, but I want to say shout out again to Reforged Gaming. You guys know Lono. Go over and check him out. He has unbelievable content all week long. I don't even know if he takes the weekends off. I think he does, but I'm not even sure. I know Monday through Friday you can count him. The great Eric Jackson, the voice of reason, who is here with us tonight. Outstanding to have Eric here as well. And K-Med. Shout out to K-Med. First time on the show. Talked to him a lot on Twitter, or as BRAP just said, X. But nonetheless, I want to say shout out to K-Med. Outstanding job on his first Crossfire. Guys, fantastic show. Please, on the way out, hit the like button. I see we got another 20 jumped up. Let's try to get to 200 before we close out the show. That being said, guys, go over, play some games, talk to people, go out and have a drink, watch some NFL football this Sunday. Thank God it is football season again. Let's go, Giants. We'll see you guys next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Go in game. Peace out.